So we could do an introduction. Is that what you're thinking? This introduction, or keep working through?
Oh, we can watch the video.
We can watch Jack.
Here's Jack. Jack is he's one of our graduates from a few years ago, but he was sitting where you were. He did the Bachelor of Health Science and Master of Occupational Therapy. And this is probably not going to work. I got it to work, but I embedded the video and now it doesn't want to work.
Just go up to a new tab.
Scroll down. Scroll down.
Achieving someone's goals is...
You probably don't need it that loud either.
Wake us all up.
So this is Jack. Jack he's obviously now graduated, and he is talking about studying occupational therapy at Flinders.
Achieving someone's goals is probably the most satisfying aspect of our work. Whether that goal be small or be big and we worked over it for 1 month or 12 months, it's rewarding because that's what OT for me is about achieving significant outcomes for our clients. My name is Jack Paul. I'm the Occupational Therapy Team Leader here at MPOT. I studied the Bachelor of Health Science, Master of Occupational Therapy double degree. The OT in particular, the Master's program, presented opportunities that other programs that were available didn't. We got a good grounding in the foundations of health, anatomy, biology, physiology, that then allowed us when we got to the Master's program to really take the practical applications head on and facilitate the best learning process that we could. I did a placement in India, working across hospital and community-based settings, which was organised through the uni. My second placement was completed at the Darwin Hospital in the Burns and Trauma Unit, which has led me to my final placement, which was here at MPOT. I was exposed to the serious injury rehabilitation aspect of private practice, and since that time I'm now in the team leader position for the occupational therapists.
We have been working with Flinders since the very early days of the occupational therapy programme, and we have had a very strong commitment to offering placements to Flinders students, and I'm very happy to say that we do have a solid history of employing graduates. The Flinders occupational therapy students really demonstrate sound clinical skills. They have a tremendous understanding of the functional impact of disability, whether it be short-term or long-term. They do it with good humour, they do it with good grace, they do it with intelligence, and they do it with respect.
There's a certain healthy level of optimism about the positivity around OT. There's been a profession that's always worked with people across all continuums of life.
I don't ever remember a time in my whole career where occupational therapy had such exciting prospects. The graduates from Flinders not only have amazing opportunities in Australia, but they have international mobility.
Taking on a university degree is a big step for any individual, but an occupational therapy degree can open so many doors, whether it be clinical roles, management roles, or even broader roles within the community. So go in with open eyes and be willing to experience anything.
No one seems to know this on Amazon.
You don't need to know that either. So Jack talked about, and obviously he's come from Bachelor of Health Science, Master of OT, so I guess that brings us to the point that there's multiple different pathways that you have all ended up here, how you've ended up here today. So we've got students that have studied at Flinders University for the last 3 years and have done a Bachelor of Health Science, and they've come in to the Masters of Occupational Therapy this year. We also have...
Shall we just do a show of hands of that group?
Yep. So these are the people, if you are not from here, to actually get to know and ask about how do you use Flow, where's the best place to park,
Where do you get coffee? What's the best coffee?
or, yeah, any of those things, really. I was going to say something else, but Stuart doesn't have a lot in regards to that. How to walk up to the main campus to get some different food, maybe. We also have students that are direct into the program that are from here in Australia. So they've done another degree at another university in Adelaide, or interstate. So if we could have a show of hands of those students that have studied here in South Australia, that have just come direct entry into the program. Excellent.
So familiar with South Australia, but not familiar with Flinders Uni.
And then a show of hands that have studied at Flinders another degree and coming straight in. A couple, hand up higher. No one can see those hands when they're really small.
And pay attention to the people around you, because these guys are going to be your cohort, and you're going to get to know each other really well. But you can also lend a hand to someone who's really baffled by Flinders systems, or
us when we're baffled too.
Completely baffled by Adelaide. Yes. Why is this a capital city but seems like a country town? What is your experience of this place?
Why do the shops shut at 5 p.m. on Sunday? That's something that interstate people might ask. So we've also got a group that are come into the program that are from interstate, so from New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, I think might be the only places. Anyone in that category? Hand up. Yep. Laurie?
Big hands so people can see you.
Fabulous, welcome. And then our final group have done another degree overseas, so from different countries. So hands up. Our international cohort. So I believe we've got students from Canada, we've got students from, I'm going to guess, Maldives? Yes. We were talking about perhaps you might need to go home on a placement and that perhaps we could come to the Maldives.
For 8 weeks to
support need lots of
every experience.
The whole class can come, there you go. We've got students, is there anyone from Taiwan? Yes. China? Fabulous. Now, there's someone from South America. Is it Peru? Peru. Is that right? Fabulous. Have I missed any countries? India. Hands up in. Welcome. Any other countries I've missed? Iran? Welcome. You're from Iran too? Both from Iran. Do you know each other? No. You'll have to meet up. Fabulous.
I'm from Pakistan. I've done my bachelor's here.
Oh, okay, great. Well, that's still good to know though.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So, yes, there's varying degrees of potential confusion or trepidation in the room, depending on what your previous experience has been. So it'll be really good to look out for each other. Be really curious about each other. Yeah. How amazing to study alongside a really rich and diverse group of people, and we really value that as well as part of the OT course. When you're working with people out there in the real world, they are rich and diverse and come from all sorts of experiences that make them unique. And it's great to have that reflected in our health professionals. It's really important to do that. Yeah. I'm just conscious that the recording had only started and we hadn't done our introductions, but so for those people who are watching
this... It did pick up our voices.
All the way through?
I don't know, he said it was recording from that room, so it did pick up our voices, but not the recording.
Okay. Well, in case you've only just joined us for the pictorial version, I'm Sandra and this is Elise, and we will progress through the rest of the morning with this recording, and we will reach out to you, those of you who haven't been able to make it
There's
today.
A few people that planes were delayed and they're stuck in countries overseas and whatnot.
Or who may have only just got an offer today.
Or that too, yes. Or, yes, something happened. So, we have mentioned, so you've met Sandra, myself and Simone. We've also got a few other people as part of our academic team, so it looks quite small. We've got Kate, Brad, Belinda and Beck. So Kate, Brad and potentially Beck are going to be coming around at lunchtime, and you'll get to meet them. Some of you might already know them from previous topics. And Belinda's not on, she doesn't work today. So that's probably an important note, is that all of our staff except for Beck are part-time. So when you send an email, if we don't get back to you, that's probably why. But also if we forget to get back to you in a few days, please just send a gentle reminder. Our inboxes are very, very busy, and we have no problem with you going, "Hi Elise, did you see this email?" I actually love it when students remind me, because I do forget. We will let you know in topic handbooks and all those sort of things what days we work, so you'll know what days to actually get in touch with us. But even though we've got a small teaching team, and this next slide will tell you what topics we teach. I've highlighted the ones that are your first semester topics that we are topic coordinating, so Kate, Sandra and myself. We have a very extensive pool of casual staff that come in and teach alongside us. So these are occupational therapists that work in the field, that have, some of them have been in your place and did our programs, some have studied at other universities or other, in Australia or different countries. But yeah, we tap into those amazing people as well as our clinical educators.
Because now we'll often be having 4 or 5
Classes.
running at the same time, and we obviously can't spread ourselves that thin. So we have a team of people who really enjoy teaching, and then we also have guest specialist lecturers who come into the areas of practice that we won't have specialty to. So we really try and match the specialty knowledge of the lecturer to the topic, rather than having an approach that anyone can teach anything. That might happen in some other programs. We really try our very best to get in touch, and you know, it's a reflection of our program that we can do that. So Marilyn, who you saw speaking, is a former World Federation of OT president, so incredibly internationally recognised, valued, and you know, she very strongly endorses our program. So we are therefore able to get kind of the best people to come and talk to you because they value our program.
So Sturt is a little bit of a rabbit warren at times, but not as bad as Flinders Medical Centre for when you go on placement there. But it can be a little tricky to find us, particularly because we...
So just to clarify, this is Tonsley, which is one of the sites of Flinders Uni. Bedford Park is the other main site of Flinders Uni, and Sturt sits at Bedford Park, which is where mostly, not always, mostly you'll be taught from. So
so we sit at Sturt. The reason we're tricky to find is because it's kind of like Harry Potter. Some staircases get to the top floor, some don't. Is that right, people who study at Sturt? So certain staircases will allow you to find us, some won't. So we've got some pictures to try and help you. But this is the courtyard, I guess, the centre of Sturt where you can sit and have lunch. And we sit up here at the very top here on the 4th floor of the West Wing. So our teaching usually occurs on the 4th floor of the South Wing. And the best car parking for our experience is 14, 16 and 20. So you might want to take a screenshot if that's of any help for anybody. So this is what Sturt sort of looks like here. So we're down here at this bottom corner right next to the oval. And so we've got South Wing, West Wing, North Wing and East Wing. And it took me a while to realise that it's basically north, south, east and west geographically is which way it works. I don't know why it took me ages to figure that out, but it really did. I think it's because it throws me, because I keep thinking that is east because that's where the beach is. Because I grew up on the east coast and the beach is east. In South Australia, the beach is west. So that actually did throw me. Come in. So yes, and so we are on the west wing here, on the very, very top floor. So this is what the top floor of the West Wing looks like. There are 2 ways to find us. So we sit just about here, which is in the centre. So you can go, I did this to make it kind of fun. We can take the north staircase, you walk along the corridor and you come down here and that's where you'll find us. Or you can take the South Wing staircase. I know, I really wanted to emphasise it. And then you get to the top and you turn left and then you will find us there. Do not take the middle staircase because you'll only get to level 3. It doesn't go to level 4. So that's where it's Harry Potter-like. You can't get any further north.
But there's no sign that says, stop, go back down, you've gone the wrong way. People just get baffled with...
If you get through the middle staircase, which is basically the one on top of the cafeteria, and you can't go further, turn right, and then you'll go up the south staircase. So yeah. There is an app called Lost on Campus. And it doesn't work at Sturt. It doesn't work at Sturt, so don't even worry about it.
And it also doesn't work very well at some of the Flinders teaching spaces either. So where you need it...
Maybe give it a go. Maybe they've updated it. There's supposedly QR codes around Sturt. Has anyone tried those QR codes? They don't always help so well either, but they might have fixed them up, so just have a look. I'm making it sound really confusing. Once you get to know it, you will be completely fine. So maybe just avoid that middle staircase, go through this one or this one.
And the good thing about working in a really complicated building that doesn't make a lot of sense is everyone's very patient with helping people. You know, if you're looking baffled and go up to anyone, they're pretty much going to help you because they were there as well at some point going, but how can it be east? The east wing doesn't join to the others, only from one side, so that throws you. And yeah, there's a few complications around it.
There are a few, but I think if you're wanting to find us, the north staircase or the south wing staircase, and go up, and you will find us. If you're lost, just send us an email. Come in. Welcome. Any other tips from anyone who's been at Sturt for anyone to? Yes.
Being just complicated. You get to know once you lost like 1-2 times. You realize what to do next time.
Yeah. All the rooms will have like, let's say S401. So that means south wing. So S, south wing. 4 means level 4. So you know you're going to the level 4 on the south wing, and then you just look for 401, S401. So if it said W203, you know it's west wing, level 2, room 203. Does that make sense? So it's once you know that code and that system, it is pretty easy to find the rooms. Yeah. Cool. Great. Getting to know each other. So we thought we'd do a few little activities about getting to know each other, see how similar and maybe how different we are, and also a chance to get up and move. So we had a few questions that we came up with. As a show of hands, what is our go-to type of snack? So hands up who likes sweet.
It's like it's weighted down this half of the room.
Yes, I know.
This half and the back.
So I'm assuming that down the right is savoury. Hands up, savouries. Who likes cheese, crackers, those sort of things? So who likes dogs?
Oh,
No, Sandra hates this every year. She's a cat person. Dogs are better.
you dog lovers always dominate.
So hands up, cats.
I like both.
Finish it up.
That's
I like a
okay.
dog, so it's fine.
Yeah. Yes. So we know us unique cat lovers.
Yeah.
We understand and can connect on a different level to dog lovers.
Oh dear. Okay. Who likes summer? Me too.
Oh, you did because you're weird like dog.
I like the warmth. Coming from Queensland, I used to struggle coming here for winter. Winter lovers, hands up.
I'm definitely a fence sitter on this one. I'm in between. So we're asking you to do something incredibly hard which doesn't relate to OT practice in any way, which is categorise just to 2 things, because there's always that, but what if? Because context matters, so.
Absolutely. I think we sort of did this, but we can do it a little bit closer if you like. So hands up, Adelaideans. I'm not one of those actually.
So confidently, but
I've been here 20 years, so surely I'm almost local.
yeah.
But I'm not going to give up my Queensland estate. Interstate people. Anyone from Queensland? No, not this cohort. Oh. So was there a Queenslander? No. Victorians? New South Welshmen? Excellent. And then our interstate students from overseas, international, apologies.
So originally I was overseas, but now so where am I? Am I stuck in the middle? Because I'm kind of both.
I feel like your accent tells us you're English. You can choose, whatever you decide.
I'm both, because I have a dual citizenship.
Well, there you go. Definitely put your hand up then.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And again, a core idea in OT is how do you identify as opposed to what someone else places. So if you want to, you can identify whichever way you'd like to around one, the other, or both.
Depends what sport's playing and who's winning.
Depends how the sports results go.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair call. Languages. So, everyone put their hands up. Hands down if you only speak. We all speak language. Everyone can speak here. So hands down if you only speak 1 language. 2 languages. 3 languages. 4 languages. Ooh, 5 languages. Ooh, I'm interested. Anu, what languages do you speak?
Tamil, Malayalam, English, Hindi, and a bit of Arabic.
Wow.
Wow.
So there was 3 in a row there that spoke.
Yes, and so I can't see your name. Oh, yes. What languages do you speak? And what's your name? Sorry.
Fiona,
Yes, and what do you speak?
I speak English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati.
Wow. Was there anyone else that had 5? 4? Was there anyone who had 4?
Yeah.
Yes. What 4 languages do you speak?
Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, English, and some Japanese.
Amazing.
Yeah. This is where I feel very inadequate and sometimes I struggle with English. So again, we can be really hold our colleagues who speak more than one language, let alone 3 or 4 languages, in very high esteem, and also appreciate how challenging it might be for them to be studying something as complex as a master's degree in English. So we are for kindness and admiration to the fact of living in Australia and a long way away from other countries. You're very often dealing with people who only speak English. And again, we come from a very privileged position in being able to travel the world and get away with just speaking English most of the time. So it's great to hear stories about people with multiple languages and competence in that, because it's a really different experience for a lot of people living in Australia.
I just realised we didn't mention where the bathrooms were. So for anyone who doesn't know, literally outside the door there is where the bathrooms are. So feel free if you need to duck out as the day goes. Our final activity that we've got for now is a chance for you to get up and move. So we're asking you now to pull up on your phone. If it's your home screen, you feel comfortable sharing it. Otherwise, find another photo that you're comfortable sharing.
That reflects a bit about you.
Yeah. So something about you that we're going to spend about 10 minutes. You're going to go and meet some new people. So for those of you who know people because you've studied before, make sure you get to know other people. There was lots of people down this end of the room that have never studied at Flinders before. So go around, introduce yourself and show your photos to each other. So we'll give you about 10 minutes. So hopefully that was a good chance to start to get to know each other. There'll be some more opportunities when we have morning tea break and then lunch break a little later. So we're going to push on with some of these slides. We've got at 10:45 some students from the Masters second year coming along and talking to you about studying in the MOT, so that'll be really exciting for when they get here. So we're going to keep moving. So we've got now a slide about our course aims. So this is what we're aiming to work towards by the end of finishing the degree. So we aim to prepare students for professional practice as occupational therapists, and you'll be flexible, innovative, creative, reflective and responsive critical thinkers, and practitioners, able to adapt to and respond to the changing industry needs. You'll learn to critically consider the knowledge and evidence base underpinning occupational therapy practice to ensure high quality clinical reasoning and delivery of professional and ethical occupational therapy practice suited to the context and needs of the people you're working with. And you'll be able to work across a range of practice settings. So these have been updated for this year, which is very exciting and reflect currency of practice really, where occupational therapy has shifted and moved over the last few years. I'm not going to dwell on this too much because we will cover that in week 1 of the 8013. But this is just to give you a bit of a context around what is occupational therapy in Australia. So we know that there are, as of the 30th of September, so it doesn't account for all the graduates that came out at the end of last year. This is the most current statistics on the Occupational Therapy Board page. But there's 30,000 occupational therapists in Australia, which is quite a lot. And of that, 89.2 are female and 10.8% are male. And that slowly creeps up for the males, the percentage every year. So even if it's by 0.5, we're getting more males into the profession, which is really exciting considering the population is not reflective of that. So having diversity, not only in genders but also in backgrounds, is really important for occupational occupational therapy. And occupational therapy sits above those statistics, so we've got 13.5% male OTs in South Australia. We also have, down the bottom, the second graph shows the age distribution. So we can see a big peak around the 25 to 30 age, and then it slowly tapers off. A lot of that is speaking to the fact that we are a female profession. A lot of females do either exit the profession or take time off, change their registration when they have children, and also we're a profession that is growing more and more each year. So each year the cohorts get bigger that graduate in that age group, and the people leaving the profession get, well, we get older, don't we, Sandra? Yeah. It's a bit sad, but it's true. That graph has not changed. It has sat like that, I think, for when I was a student. That big peak happening there and a tapering off. So, yeah, that's changed for as long as I can remember. Been the same as long as I can remember. Here we've got, it tells us we've got 2,500 occupational therapists in South Australia. So still, I mean, sounds not a lot really, is it? Considering I think in South Australia last year we would have graduated about 250 OTs across the 3 programs. Yeah, so interesting. So the unique features of our course, we're really proud of some of the uniqueness of what we have got within our curriculum. So we have the lived experience voice, and that is prominent throughout the curriculums that we teach. So you're going to be introduced in week 1 to documents around working with people who have lived experience, and that will filter on and build as you go across the degrees. We have people that do come in and talk to you and teach who have lived experience as well. We also have a consumer advisory group, so these are people with lived experience that give us advice on current occupational therapy practice, their experience of occupational therapy practice, and help shape what we teach and how we teach it. Touched on then. Interprofessional practice is also throughout our curriculum, so you will all be jumping into an interprofessional practice topic. So the Rehab 8101 topic in first semester this year, that's taught with OTs, speech pathologists, physiotherapists, and I've unfortunately missed out exercise physiologists, but they are absolutely there as well in that topic. So you'll be working amongst peers that you'll be working with when you graduate. In 8013, we're going to be connecting with not only dietetic students but also optometry students to practice learning to deliver initial interviews, which is really exciting. And in 8017, you'll be working with Master of Opto students around vision assessments, which is really exciting. So there'll be more of those opportunities that we'll be bringing into the curriculum as we go. In the children and families topic, you'll be doing some work with our speech pathology students as well. So lots of opportunities being in a college that has lots of allied health to actually learn alongside our peers. We have placements that sit within the interprofessional practice model, which Simone touched on before. I'm not going to go into detail because that will come as you go through the degree. But we also have partnerships with agencies in the field. So some of those agencies I'll talk to in a while, but they have clinical educators, which are staff that we employ to support you on placement, and I'll tell you about those partnerships shortly. We have a commitment to cultural responsiveness, which Sandra's already tapped into. There'll be a module that you do in the IPP topic later in the semester around that. In 8013, we have some elders that come in and teach us basket weaving, which is really a great experience and allows us to think about occupation from a different perspective. In 8002, so the Oc Science topic, you talk about cultural responsiveness, and it's woven throughout all our other topics. And then therapeutic communication, which really is probably the underpinning approach that we consider and teach you in the program. So you'll learn that in 8013. It's a way of connecting intentionally with the clients that you work with. It's probably the thing we're most proud of in regards to our curriculum, and something that we've won some teaching awards for, which is really exciting, and really supports you to be able to connect authentically with the clients as well as other colleagues that you're going to be working with. So you'll touch into that in the second half of the semester in 8013, and we're going to be building on that throughout all your topics and then into clinical placement. Is there anything you want to add to that, Sandra? Okay. We spoke to cultural safety earlier, so I think we'll just keep moving through these slides. Probably important to know that we go through accreditation. So this program is accredited. We went through that in 2023, at the end of 23, so just over a year, and we passed. And we're accredited for 5 more years. So every program in Australia has to be accredited to be able to deliver the programs and for students to be able to graduate. So, yes, we are accredited. And as part of that accreditation, we need to demonstrate to the board and the council that we meet the competency standards. So that our students graduate meeting the competency standards. So we will again be touching on this in 8013. These are essentially the standards that you need to meet as occupational therapists. So I'm not going to unpack it now. I think we can unpack that in more detail next week on Tuesday. You are all going to be registered as students, occupational therapists with APRA. So APRA is the registration board for health professionals in Australia. Most health professionals sit within APRA. There is nothing that you need to do as part of that registration. The university will do that for you. So there's no reason for you to get in contact with APRA about that. We will be doing that for you. If there's any issues, we'll let you know. And then when you graduate at the end of the degree, that's where you're responsible to apply for your full registration. Probably important for every single one of you to have a look at what is required for you now to meet registration requirements. So there's a few things that you need to consider there. So English language is one that can affect anybody. So there's requirements around where you have done your schooling or how long you've studied in a university program to meet the English language requirements. If you don't meet that, then you will have to do an English language test. So we had an example of a student last year that had done their high schooling overseas in a different country. While it was in English, it wasn't in a recognised country that spoke English. And so when they were going to apply for their registration, they weren't recognised as coming from an English language country, even though that's all they'd spoken. So they had to actually do the test. So I think that's really important for you to check those requirements.
And we have absolutely no say in that. Our job is to say you've completed the course, which you would think would transfer nicely to the fact that if you've completed a master's level course in English, your English language proficiency would be satisfactory. But APRA have a whole different range of standards that they apply. And as Elise said, the people who have, even if you've spent up to or over a year living in another country, that can have implications. So there's some really kind of odd ways that, ultimately their job is to protect the public and ensure that people meet standards, but there's some sort of odd ways that translates down. So really, we do encourage you to have a look at it now. If you're not sure, talk to them directly so that you can be in a position to, over the next nearly 2 years, get whatever is required in place so it doesn't delay your registration. Because typically when you finish the course, you'll do your last piece of work on the week of November 14, that week. We then mark that last piece of work the next week, send your completion to APRA. From then on, you can apply for registration. And the majority of our students in the last year were registered before Christmas. So they do put a lot of effort in. So then they could, be working. Whereas if you've got a glitch with your registration, you might not be able to get registration for another month or 2. So really can't stress that enough. Unfortunately, we can't influence that process. It just is what it is. It's a regulatory body with very strict rules that they follow. So become aware of that and think about if you're in a situation that may have an issue to do with that. Get onto it early.
For those who speak English as a second language and had to do the test an English language test to enter the program here, the requirements for APRA are higher than what Flinders University requires. And that's because they expect that your English will improve over the few years to meet the higher level. So if you, just to be aware, if you've done an IELTS or another test, Pearson's, whatever, that you will potentially have to do it again, and that the requirements might be a little higher. So again, we can't stress enough the importance of just checking that out now so that you're fully aware, because we don't want that to creep up on anybody when it comes to your registration. There's also aspects around there about fitness to practice that is probably really important to have a look at and understand, but jump onto the APRA website and to get more details.
And we do go through all of this, and we have a representative from APRA come and talk to you next year in one of the modules before placement in an intensive, but that could be too late for some of you, so just worth being aware of and starting to take some action.
Yeah, it's just important to know now. Have a look now. Career outcomes are, as I said, still booming. It's still continuing to grow for occupational therapists. So all of our graduates have historically been employed often before they finish the degree, really. And we'll talk to you more about that next year to get you up to speed on what you might need to think and consider. We're not going to talk about that now. But they are employed across South Australia, and we've had students that have gone interstate, so into Western Australia, Victoria, Northern Territory. In Queensland, we've had students that have moved rurally within South Australia, but also gotten jobs metro, and given the amount of applications that keep coming through my desk, are travelling all around the world again. So lots of students heading back over to the UK, which is popular for Australians, but also we've had some of our Canadian graduates heading back to Canada too, which has been great for them. Our students have also been successful in attaining really coveted jobs. So within South Australia in the health system, they have new graduate positions that are open to students graduating, obviously, given the name. And they're really highly sought after. These are jobs that are often supported with different levels of professional development alongside support as you're working. And our students have been very, very successful in winning jobs at Flinders Medical Centre, at the RAP building, so the Rehab Aged and Palliative Care building, which is next to Flinders Medical Centre, but also in Carlin, which is the Central Adelaide Health Network, which is the Royal Adelaide Hospital and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Country Health SA, and the Northern Adelaide Local Health Network. So that's the Lowell Mac Hospital and the Modbury, yes. Mental health also has internship positions, which are new grad positions, and our students have been successful in winning those too. As well as, really highly sought after jobs in private practice. So we know our students are very employable and highly sought after by the field, not only from seeing the outcomes of people being employed, but also the feedback that we've gotten through our accreditation, where our employers, our partners came and talked to our accreditors and just spoke so highly of our program, which is great. Oh, we have another getting to know you activity. This one's, I guess, always a little fun one. We'll do a show of hands as well. I think Sandra alluded to before about a relative who studies OT. So does anyone remember who she said? Testing you? Her daughter. Anyone else, Sandra? In your family?
Yeah, my sister. And my niece is a speech pathologist. So, yeah, we are strong. I actually studied with my sister at the same time, and then my daughter did the course, so that was fun.
It was lots of fun having her in our course.
Yeah.
Sandra had to change her stories.
Yes, because she was a large example in most of my strange sensory behaviours things. So I'd be sort of like, oh, she's in the room looking at me. Slightly changed that. But no, it was really good. That was during COVID, so she was often in one end of the house listening to the shoot or practical that I was running down the other end of the house, and if the internet collapsed, she'd be like, "Can I come in here?" Like one of them wasn't working as well. So it was
fun times. Fun times. I have a stepbrother who actually studied OT. So yeah, a few years after me, same uni. I remember he came on placement and I didn't supervise him, but he was part of my observational placement, which was fun. Anybody else have family members that are OTs? It's usually some. Ooh, yes.
Yep.
Your mother? Excellent.
Yeah.
Is she excited that you've chosen to do OT?
Yeah,
That's great. Does anyone else have a family member?
Oh, we often have-
Oh, there's another hand.
Oh,
yeah. My husband.
Your husband.
husband.
Excellent. Have we had any husband and wives?
we've had two study at the same time.
That's true, we did actually, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have sort of more distant family that they know or friends that they know? Yeah? Yes? Excellent. We usually have a few more,
Yeah.
don't we? What was the next question? What is your experience with OT? So what were we asking around that point?
I think this was a going around talking one, which we probably haven't got time to do.
No, we don't have time to do.
We can break that into that.
These can be points that you can discuss further when you get
Yeah.
to know each other after. Okay, so you have all gotten the Master of OT handbook that I sent around to you. That's really your go-to manual for everything that you need to know about the degree. There is also a placement education manual that I'll be giving to you shortly to help you prepare for placement. So it's got all the information that you need to know in those handbooks and really where you should be going as your first reference point if you've got questions. If there's anything that's unclear about it, can you let me know? We've only sort of instigated this for the last 2 years, these two handbooks, so I'm really happy for feedback on things that aren't clear. Lots of really great information in there for you to support you through the next couple of years of your study. So yeah, make sure you get over that. This is the structure of the program. So this is what it looks like for everyone who is studying full time. So the blue is year 1 and the green is year 2. So semester 1's the top row. So you'll be doing occupational science with Sandra. You'll be doing the intro to OT principles and practice with myself. You'll be doing OT practice from the older person's perspective, and that's Kate's topic, who you'll meet shortly. And then you'll be doing the interprofessional practice topic that I mentioned before with the physios, speech path, EP. Did I miss someone? No.
Is audiology joining us yet?
Just the cultural responsiveness, I believe. So that will get you through first semester. You'll jump into second semester, and this is where you start applying all that knowledge into specific areas of practice. So we've got a children and families topic with Sandra. You've got the mental health topic with myself and Simone. You have got a physical practice topic, and that one is going to be run by Kate. And then the neurological topic, that's going to be run by Belinda. You jump into second year, and this is our placement year. So you'll come and do clinical placement 1 and 2, so 2 8-week placements in first semester, and then second semester is clinical placement 3, and then the transition to professional practice, which is the project placement that you will be doing in second semester. So all those placements are 8 weeks, and the project placement, TPP, is 6 weeks. I've just jumped to this one. So this gives you a bit of a sense. Sorry, it's a little small. It is in your handbook. So the green is coursework and the blue is placement. So I really wanted to highlight in second year. So while you have got placement and you'll be out for the whole year pretty much, we do have touch points back here with the university. So preceding every placement block, you will have a 2-week intensive that you'll come into the university to do. So the first one's going to be all around therapeutic communication to really set you up and set you onto placement. The second placement block is going to be about working with communities. And then the third and fourth placement blocks is going to be preparing you to get out there and get a job. So there'll be lots of reflecting around what you've learned, developing your continuing professional development plans, which you need for placement, but also hearing from students that have graduates who have worked their first year to tell you about what it's been like working in the first year, and employers coming in and talking about what do we look for in our graduates. So really great stuff to help set you up for that job hunting and your first year of clinical practice. Again, I'm going to highlight in second semester of next year. You can see 2 columns that I've put in here. So half of the cohort, so half of you will be out doing your clinical placement 3, while the other half of you will be doing your projects, so the TPP projects, and then you'll flip. So then you'll come in here and you'll do, those who did placement first will do their project second, those who did project first, they'll do their placement second. And that really allows us to have placements across the whole academic or calendar year pretty much. If we had everyone doing projects at the same time, we'd have the same problem we have now, which is a whole, term of no placements happening. So that's how we've gone around that. The other thing I really want to highlight to you, we're going to flash back to second semester next year, this year, apologies, is that we've got 4 topics in semester 1. That will happen as you would have studied normally throughout your undergraduate degree. But when we come into the second semester this year, we've broken the topics into two 8-week blocks. So it means you're not studying 4 topics at once. We're really conscious of not wanting to overload you in 4 topics across a whole semester to just really get overwhelmed. So we've broken it up into 2 8-week blocks. The first 8-week blocks, you'll do the children and families topic and the physical health topic. You'll then have the assessment. That topic will be wrapped up and finished. And then you'll go into the second block, which you'll do the mental health and neurological topic. So that's really to allow it so you're not, does that sound okay? Yeah, better than doing 4 topics? Yep, some thumbs up and nods, great. But what we really want, because this is the first time we've done it this way, is feedback from you on how that feels. What is that like? Because that will help us think about it for the next year as well. And we think it's going to be really good. We do think that people will be able to really help consolidate their learning as they go across the 2 topics, because there'll be some aspects that you'll study in the first block and we'll weave it into the second block. So yes, we do want feedback, don't we, Sandra?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to add to that?
That also allows us to do part-time pathways. So you're the first cohort who can sign on to do a master's course part-time. So it gives us that flexibility. We haven't had that in the past. We've sort of worked with people when they enrolled into a full-time master's and it got all too much to create a part-time pathway. But this structure allows us to actually run a part-time pathway without there being significant gaps in between things where people weren't able to study. We have really tried we know how hard it is to be a student these days. We know cost of living crisis is hitting students particularly hard. We also know that as young people, there is a lot of pressure, there's a lot of mental health issues, and a number of you will have physical health issues or caring responsibilities or responsibilities in addition to your role as student. So one of the other reasons underpinning this structure of the placement was to really reflect that and to allow people who knew from the beginning, I'm not going to be able to study full time, to be able to do that more smoothly and more easily. What we also will say to you and encourage you to really think about, say it once now, we'll say it many, many times, is there will be reasons why it is really hard to study a master's course. Life happens to people, circumstances change, health gets impacted, all sorts of other situational issues around your broader family or friends. Things happen, and that really does impact on the level of work that you can or need to do as a student. We're very aware of that, and we try and we do work really hard with you to work out what might be the best pattern for you. One of the things we do absolutely know after 14 years in this job is the people who just go, I'm just going to push through and get it over and done with, don't do very well. There's only so much that your body, your mind, your system can actually cope with. So even though it's really hard to hear and you won't like us saying that, there might be points in time where we say, we really recommend you take a break from study. You go part-time, because we want you to be OTs that survive the course and are able to work really effectively for what will be a long and at times challenging career, because you're working with people who also have lots going on in their lives. It's complex work that we do. So we just want to set that tone of going, there might be times when it's too hard. If it's a short-term disruption, we can work with you around that. We're already working with a number of second years who have come back into the year. We're 4 weeks in for our second years, and life's gone to pieces for some of them, and we're working with them around how to negotiate that, how to extend deadlines, what part do they need to, flex where what can go. But it's a master's course, and that's challenging. So sometimes it just won't be possible, and we really encourage you not to study at the expense of your own mental and physical well-being.
I think we just really, to say to that is to please just come and see us, come and talk to us. I know you only just met us, but I attest to the fact that I think we are very approachable. Our doors are open for you to come and have a discussion with us. We are really happy and encourage you to do that. It's much easier for you to tell us what's going on so we can actually put some systems in place, make some changes, than if it all crumbles at the end and then we're trying to help you pick up the pieces.
And we, as I said before, we apply the same care and compassion and thought that we used to our clients, to you as our clients. So we will be thinking about your best interests and helping you navigate the particular unique challenges of a topic or two topics. And that's partly what underpinned this idea of doing 4 topics at a time. Students had already told us that doing 2 11-week topics at the time is really hard for them. If something goes wrong, there's no wriggle room for that, there's no space. So we were really conscious of developing the new topic to be only 2 at a time, shorter topics, more intense, but moving on.
And we also really try hard to apply those same principles to ourselves. We do try to look after ourselves because we know that we will burn out as well. So, just little things that we put in place around things like not checking emails after hours, for example, is something we're doing to just protect ourselves as well. So if you send an email at 4:30 and we don't respond to you until the next day at midday, that's actually quite reasonable. So don't panic. We will get back to you. We won't be responding to emails after hours wherever possible.
And on our days off as well.
Yes. Or weekends.
Many of our staff on their days off are working as clinicians, or people like myself are in a different role of being a grandparent and supporting my daughter, and so we're not, our job is our job, and we have worked really hard. We'll be talking about occupational balance in Oc Science and about getting balance in place for ourselves and for you, so that we can continue in this job. It's a demanding job. We have to get to know every single one of you and think about you really well and plan a course that is supportive of your unique learning while meeting the standards. And we give a lot of ourselves. So one of my jobs is to protect our staff as well and to help put limits in place where limits need to be in place. But that's also really important for you to learn, because something's panicking you at 11 o'clock at night, that we're not going to be on our emails checking that or responding to it. And there have been instances where we've come in at 9 o'clock and now we've had this series of emails, and then they've tried every other team member, and it was like,
get hold of them.
We were at night. I was asleep by 11 o'clock at night.
So don't have notifications on our emails
No.
dinging saying we've got an email. I know some of you do that, mainly because some of our second years will respond within 2 minutes of me sending an email, so clearly it pushes through. We don't have that, and we don't encourage you to have that on either.
Yeah. We really encourage you to put those boundaries in place as well where you can.
Because if you can set them up now as students, that's going to set you up nicely for when you start to practice. So learning those boundaries for yourself too.
When will we be having a break?
We've got what's the time
After
right
the
now?
students'
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the time right
Wasn't
now?
sure whether it was before or after.
They will be outside any minute. So this, as you know, is our semester 1. So Mondays is pretty much IPP day. Tuesdays you'll be doing Oc Science with Sandra, and you'll do the 8013 Principles and Practice of OT with me. And then either Thursday or Friday, depending on what class you've signed up into, will be the older person's topic. So it looks like a Wednesday for most of the semester. I know there's at least one class for me that's been shifted over to that day, but Wednesdays is a pretty free day, which makes me sort of start to think it'd be a good question for you to ask our second years around employment and working, and how does that look like? Our encouragement is, if you are working across this year, try and put a little bit of money away to support you on placement. Placement is typically full-time, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, so working can be a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, ask our second years what they've done for working. That can be a good question to ask.
Hello.
Sounds like they're there, so we might bring them in now.
Yeah, we'll just take, you can come on in. Ash isn't here yet because she's. Yeah, and Flynn. Oh,
That's okay. We are a few minutes early, so you can just come in and grab a seat, which is cute.
yeah. Have a seat here at this
Have
table.
a front. Hi. Thanks at the front.
At the front.
At the
Yeah,
front.
this
You
side
want
of
us
it.
now?
Thank you.
Come, grab a seat, Mark. And yeah, we'll get, when the others come in, we'll swap to you. But
Yeah.
you'll be hearing very familiar stuff.
Yes. This
Probably
is where
doesn't-
they were 12 months ago.
Yeah.
So I'll just push through with these until the other guys come. Class attendance is expected. So we expect that you'll attend all face-to-face and online live classes. We often will only cover the material once in the degree, and so if you miss it, it can be problematic. Ooh. Hi. There's a good seat.
Yes.
Let's grab one over there. We've got 2 more students to turn up. We do take attendance when you do come to class, so make sure you sign in. So if you can't make it to class, it's expected that you'll email the topic coordinator and just let us know. You know, that's around thinking about how you would work as a clinician. Those are the types of things that you would be doing when you're working, so we're trying to model some of those behaviours. We do want to let you know that our practical classes tutorials are not recorded. We're unable to record those because of the nature of the work that we're doing in class. Sometimes students are sharing personal experiences or it's practical activities that just can't be recorded. So your chance to do the work is going to be face-to-face in the class. We will have on flow the tutorial PowerPoint slides, so if you can't come and you've let us know, you'll be able to go through those slides, do the activities, touch base with your peers around what they might have had, get some feedback, and if you're stuck, you can send an email out and reach out to us. Particularly if you've let us know, we're more likely to be really willing to help out with that. Most of your lectures for the topic are pre-recorded. Some of them won't be in your timetables this year, but each topic will outline how many hours of lectures you will expect. That's also in the course handbook. If there's a room associated with a lecture, that means it's going to be a live lecture. So we have a couple of those throughout the degree, but the majority of them will be pre-recorded that you can watch at your own time at faster or slower pace, depending on who's speaking. Yes. Is there anything else you want to say about class attendance, Sandra? Hello, welcome. That's okay, you are not too late. There's 2 more seats for you.
We might set up
So
in the
nice.
zone of recording, so we can move that if you're ready to.
Yeah, I'm ready to throw to you.
We'll just get you to come across into this zone, because then you'll be seen on the recording rather than just be a voice or
Thanks.
have to shuffle around a little bit more.
Bit more.
Bit more that way, Flynn. Get
I wonder
out.
if I can do.
Yeah, you do camera controls.
Yes, I will.
Might be able to just zoom it out. Yeah.
We just
Breathe.
yeah. Take some mindful moments.
Yes. Sorry, we'll just give you a. You can
The
breathe
mics?
while we.
Oh, this is what I want.
Have a couple to share.
There we go. Look at that. That's just you. Doing stuff. There we go. Perfect.
Are they all in?
Yep, they are all in.
You can share between you.
Do you just start? Yes. Introduce yourself.
It's a bit of an awkward. We were just like waiting for you to come, filling in time, and now you're here.
Why
It's
we're not
like
doing media.
over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Ash. We'll just go around, I guess, and introduce ourselves.
I'm Flynn.
I'm Mark.
I'm Rochelle. Oh, is that on? And I'm Natasha.
And we're here to chat to you a little bit about being in the Masters of Occupational Therapy. we were in your position last year, so we've come back just to sort of give you some advice, some things that we heard when we first started the program, some things we wish we knew, that sort of a thing. Does anyone have any like burning questions before we start? Otherwise we can just like yap. Yeah. It's up to you guys, like, whatever you prefer.
We'll yap away.
And you can ask questions along the way as they talk.
Yeah.
Interrupt and go.
Is everyone okay if I yap first?
Go.
Okay, cool. So I'm Ash. Hi again. I came through from the Bachelor of Health Science to then be in the Master's program. So I think, and I'm going to totally just talk about my experience, I think everyone here have a very individualised experience. You guys are kind of lucky in the fact that you have a whole new program written for you. So anything we might say may be different because we did a different program. So I don't think you guys go on placement till next year, is that right?
Yep.
So my biggest piece of advice, and if you take nothing from today, just take this, is start saving money now. Okay? When I did health science, I don't know about anyone else, but I actually was able to work a lot. So I didn't really develop a good savings plan. And then when I got on placement, I was like, I cannot even afford to like put petrol in my car this week. Mum, please give me money. But that's my own fault. And I heard every single tutor say, start saving now, start freezing food, start, bringing your own coffee to uni. Like literally do it. Because I was like, it's fine, I'll work on the weekends, but you're literally working like a 40-hour week. And you actually just need time to be a human, like just to turn off, do what you need to do, have a hobby. So like, please take nothing from today, just start saving now. You'll be fine, like you'll actually be fine, don't let me scare you. But just like, I don't know, start bringing your own coffee to uni because it will actually be a lifesaver when you get to placement. That would be my one piece of advice. Flynn, do you have like one word of wisdom you'd like to give?
I'll put down to one.
Yeah.
You can give a few.
Just like, use or like the course. Like from what our experience, it was fun. Like all the people here, awesome. The teachers are great. And just enjoy it. Like, would you say you've had fun over the last year?
Yeah.
Like,
where are you from, Flynn? That might also help for some of the people in the room.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm originally from New South Wales. So I studied a Bachelor of Medical and Health Science over in Wollongong. So I moved over here not knowing anyone. So if any of you are in that position, it's okay, you'll survive and you'll meet lots and lots of friends.
I think to build on what Flynn's saying, the nice part of OT, not that you'll be broke, is that everyone here is very like-minded. So I think you have the value in being in a master's program where it's not as big as an undergrad is. So you sort of get to know everyone. I could probably compare it to like a year 12 level, where you sort of get to know everyone, at least like a name, maybe a fun fact. But everyone's doing this for a reason. So it's really easy to make friends if you're new, like completely new. Yeah. Mark, do you want to go?
Oh, sorry, Mark. I'll just add on to that. Sorry, mate. Like the difference between like my undergrad and this course is like with my undergrad, I felt like I found it really hard to like connect to the teachers, especially if I needed help with a few things. Whereas here, because it's a smaller cohort, like everyone will make the chance to get to know you and like they'll help you wherever they can.
Hello everyone, I'm an international student and my name is Mark. I just came to Australia last year. So a lot of things happened to my life, and for me it's like just being an international student is basically a new kind of culture impact, and a lot of things I don't know and I have to explore by myself. So I think that over this year, I think Flinders, especially our teachers, are very supportive. So I know that a lot of people, they probably just the first time came to Australia, they don't know about the system. It's totally fine because you will meet people who face the exact same situation as you, and that's why Flinders, I'm seeking those advice and support from Flinders Connect, International Student Service, and even counseling service numerous times. And many times that initially you have a question, you have a doubt, but then through all those kind of talks and sessions, you will realize, okay, a lot of things, it's solvable. Yeah, everyone have their own concerns, and a lot of people, they studying master, they probably already built a family, or probably they just come to a new country, or they probably try to seek a different career. It's totally fine. So for me, I didn't work as an OT before. I know very little about OT, but thankfully we got very supportive. Every teacher is incredibly professional, and they solve a lot of questions for us. So I think my advice for students, especially international students, that is that I think that I agree with Ashley. It's quite lucky that you don't need to worry about placement and even compliances that soon. So you could have plenty of time to know what you want and even work and to make your meet and also plan about financial things and even get some like support from either from family, from friends. It doesn't matter because its cost of living is incredibly high here. And I think a lot of people know about Australia. It's like everything's really expensive. Yeah, but with any questions, with any kind of even you struggling with kind of depression, or sometimes you feel a little bit lonely. All those people that in Flinders, you always can find a window to talk and try to make your life easier. That's how I feel about this uni.
That's really nice. Is this on?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm Rochelle. I came back to uni. I'm a registered nurse, and I finished my degree in 2013 at uni. And Flinders Sturt campus is pretty much the same, which is nice. Easy to find my way around, but there's a good cafe now. But the biggest difference for me, I guess, was coming back to study in an online format. And for anyone who hasn't done that, I would just say take the time to just kind of explore different methods for studying. Think about things like exams, written exams, the study skills that I had, such as highlighting the paper to help me, really take in the question. I can't do on a computer. So just thinking about your study skills that you had and how to kind of adapt them to an online course. Those things really helped me. Ask the young ones for help. They will give you all sorts of tips about your computer and things that you did not know it could do. And yeah, I guess going into placement, it is an interesting experience to go back into the role of a student, particularly after working in a hospital for 10 years. So I would say, be aware of that, embrace it, get the most out of the placement that you can. And as it's been echoed, just really think about how you can make the placement periods easier for yourself. Is it cooking meals beforehand? Is it paying bills in advance? Is it saving? What can you do to make it easier? I'm a parent, I've got 3 young kids. It was a wild year last year, and one of the biggest things that I learned as well is to just accept help from friends, from family, and also time to study. I guess when I first looked at this course and I was looking at how I'm going to make it work while still working with kids and all of this, I was looking more at when the lectures were, when the classes were, and I kind of worked out a bit later in the year that I really needed to actually plan my study time and not just leave it to the last minute, because my life's too busy and then everything gets hard. And if you do come into troubles, if you need an extension, if you need support, if you've got, I've got kids with needs, I've got an access plan for that. And the uni is so supportive, and there's lots of different avenues that you can explore if you're having trouble. And like Mark said, everyone's got challenges. I'm pretty sure no one just wakes up with an easy life. And I don't think going into a master's, you've signed up for an easy year. But yeah, so just, reach out, get the support that you need and find what you need to make it work. And, for me, that was going part-time this year. So I'll see some of you in the second half of the year in the neuro topic. So say hi. Good luck.
So I'm Nataskia. I also did the Bachelor of Health Science to Masters pathway. My biggest piece of advice would be to make time for yourself in it all, because it is really chaotic, and it is easy to overestimate how much work you'll need to put in for it to stick, because there's so much information and it's all very squished into a very short period of time. So keeping on top of it is one of the key parts. I'm also really busy. I've got 2 jobs. I live out of home. I support myself. So making sure that while I'm trying to support myself, I'm also taking the time and scheduling it in for that study time and catching up with friends too. So a big part of that is I have a really good social group at uni, and that really helps because you get best of both worlds. But yeah, we do a quiz night every Tuesday night. It's a really good idea for anyone wanting to do that. Yeah, just making time for yourself, making sure the saving is important. I went on a rural placement last year, so that was really intense. For anyone doing that, don't stress. You'll get through it. The teachers are really supportive, and there is always avenues for help. And if you're stressing about something, it's probably better to just tell somebody, because there are so many people to help you get through it. So that would be my advice.
And just to clarify, the rural placement was difficult because you couldn't work at the same time?
Yeah, because I couldn't work at the same time, and because I'm completely independent financially, it was tough. And it's just a different environment, because you're not completely isolated, but you're in a completely new environment, living away from home or what's the usual. It's really tricky to very quickly adjust your lifestyle and your routine to suit whatever's needed in that place. But I really enjoyed it. It was really beneficial. It's well worth doing, and the rural work is really good. So.
Are there questions based on what you've heard? You can hear that we've got a lovely representative group that will probably represent many of you in the room who have sitting there thinking, oh, thank goodness, someone else survived, and these guys are surviving and thriving. Are there questions that you want to ask at this point? I think there's one there. Yep.
When you guys were doing placement, how did you go with working, having a job?
So for me, I definitely...
Sorry, I just realised. Otherwise it won't pick up and there will be people. There we go.
Say it again. When you guys weren't on placement, how did you go with keeping a job?
For me, because I've got 2 jobs, I cut back on one quite a lot, and then the other one I kept, my nighttime job, I kept pretty consistent. And the days, it depends on what kind of job you do, but it is doable. Not enjoyable, but it's doable. I think the only thing would be during exam periods or really stressful points, I would book extra days off just in case, because it's better to have more time than not enough time. Learn from experience.
You go first, and
I'll go. I have worked part-time the whole time, but I think it's also just coming back to looking at your commitments, and like me, at the end of last year, I got really burnt out from doing everything, and so I've decided to go part-time this year, and that's worked for me. So I think if you need to do that, do it, and work out what's going to work for your individual circumstances.
So I work just casually as a support worker, and throughout the semester I probably average 10 to 12 hours a week, and I feel like that worked pretty well. And then in the quieter bits of semester, if I could have picked up some more work, I could have. And then when we had exams and stuff like that, it was a bit harder, and the timetable was a little bit that jumps day sometimes. So having that consistent work may not be achievable in that first sem. In regards to placement, I had a metro placement, and I did 3 hours on a Saturday morning of work, just living out at home and stuff, just to be able to afford rent. But I wouldn't recommend on doing much more than that. It was lucky that I had my Sunday where I just catch up with the same group of mates, and we'd go off and do a couple of things and that, but yeah, just prioritise that placement for just doing your placement, and then make sure you don't get burnt out. So, you want to add your
At the start of last year, I was working probably like any time I could. I think I'll reiterate what everyone else says, like, don't do that. It's just, I don't think the weight of uni in a master's is just like you have so much to remember. I don't know what your timetable will be like, but ours jumped around quite a lot. So the thing that I would probably recommend is, if you can and if you want to, maybe explore like Centrelink or something like that. I'm not personally on it, but I know it's very like normalised in masters. So if it's something that you're worried about being like the odd one out on Centrelink, that's definitely not a thing. And it's really beneficial just because you do have time to actually study. Like, it's there to support you.
Also, for anyone who doesn't know, once you're over 22, you're considered independent from your parents, so it's a lot easier to apply for anyone who applied younger and didn't get it.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone I know who is on Centrelink at the moment finds it really helpful. Finds it just like, it gives them that extra bit of time. They also work a little bit, so it's not like they don't work at all. It's just like, it's really beneficial as well for placement, because you'll be paid. You have a little bit of money while you're on placement. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Just explore it. The process can be a bit, what's the word? Like not complicated, but just time consuming. But explore it now so that you definitely have that, even a backup plan if you want it. If you decide that working's too much, I just want to study and focus on that.
Yeah. So like living out of home, I could use like youth allowance. So I think it works out to be about like $700 a fortnight, and you can earn up to like $500 in that fortnight before your payments start to get reduced. It's a bit more difficult if you're living at home, because they have a look at your savings allowance a lot. Like, you can only have a low saving allowance compared to living out of home, where you can have a higher saving allowance. But just have a look at it, and you can even get it for like short periods of times when you're on placement and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely something to look into. The process is a pain. It took me about like 3 months to get everything sorted, but then you get like a pretty good back pay, which is pretty good. But yeah, so definitely like a lot of people are utilising it. So I would highly recommend it. Yeah, you're probably going to have to pay it back in tax when you start working. So
That's a future problem.
yeah, future problem.
There was another question.
Oh, they kind of answered it. It was more so just like specific, how many hours roughly, like if all of you obviously like worked and stuff, like you said like 10 to 12 or something hours, like it was more so specific amount of hours that you'd work.
Yeah, mine, I worked 16 to 24 hours a week. That's my part-time.
I did about 25 to 30, but I cut back during busy times. Yeah.
Not to be recommended.
Not to be recommended, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. So yeah, just going after that, I did about 10 to 15, but I made sure I prioritised the things that I wanted to do. So like, I like to play golf, and I like to go to the gym, and I like to exercise. So making sure I can fit that in was like very important, because then you go into uni and you're happy, and yeah, things are great. So.
Also, placement, definitely cut back on placement. Like, I did no work, and it was like a holiday compared to what I was doing when I was in the city. But I was forced not to work, so take with that what you will.
I think there's a question over there.
Can I ask about the support work that you do? Because I know NDIS
Just pause until I get to that.
I wanted to ask about the support work you're doing, because I know within the last 6 months NDIS requirements have changed. So I don't know, as students, are we able to get work as support workers within the NDIS?
I'm pretty sure. So like, I've been a support worker for like probably 3.5, 4 years, because I did it back in New South Wales, and like, I had no trouble like transitioning to get a job here. Like, you just needed like your first aid, and some places require a Cert 4, but some places don't. So it just depends on if you are interested in that kind of work, what company that you apply for, and things like that. So
historically, because you've got an undergraduate health degree, and you're studying in a master's degree, that does equal things like it trumps the Cert 4. So, but I'm not aware that NDIS have made changes. We've never had students have trouble with getting jobs in the NDIS as carers or support workers in the past.
I also work as an AHA or an allied health assistant with NDIS, like a private company that does NDIS clients. And I've never had any issues because I'm technically a level 2 because of my undergrad.
And those sorts of carer AHA type roles fit beautifully with studying OT in terms of the flexibility and the potential to have a set number of hours but then flex it up or down. And obviously they value your knowledge that you're learning, but you also get real world experience. So it's great teaching to a room of students because they often are working in the space and doing things and have got that real experience. So there are a lot of jobs out there, particularly in the NDIS space, so definitely worth having a look at and exploring.
Maybe just for Mark as an international student, if you could shed some light to the other international students here regarding something like Centrelink. Do you know of any supports like that for international students who might not be able to get on Centrelink not having a citizenship?
I personally don't. I don't know that, and some of my friends doesn't even use that. But they have the kind of like South Australia, like international student support, and they have a lot of information, including I know that a lot of people probably wanted to work here as same as me permanently, but a lot of things changes because according to that the new migration policy, they kind of become very very strict. The age limit, and also that you shorten that even the years that once you graduate. So I think that thing you probably needed to seek for those websites and officially the government, the website, and then see that how this changes. Because I heard about that this year is going to be another big change, especially if the government is changed the prime minister is to be a different person, and they're going to change again. And some people, if you they don't know about this yet, because usually, for a student, if you want to work after you get a degree done, that should be a 485, but it doesn't eligible anymore for people who age about 35. You have to seek other ways. So for me, I'm looking for two ways. It's just directly apply for PR, but you need to make sure that you have all the high score. Now it's still sent at 65 score. That's the minimum requirement, but the higher is better. So if you have previous job experience, you probably need to get those things and transfer it to see how much score that you can get. And also make sure they can get as high English proficiency test as soon as possible. And another thing is about you could get nominated from the employers. And that's the thing that when you could work on that once you doing placement, then if you got a job opportunity. I still remember that teacher told us that there will be a lot of job offers, and that's probably the reason for me that is that people choose to be OT is because it's high demand. So it's easier to apply and save people's time to get the permanent residency. So in that case, that if you be nominated, you find an employer, and then they will agree, and then they're willing to support you. You probably only need to work for half a year, and then you will be eligible to apply for PR. So, but those things could change that in this year.
And so I think I sent around to international students. There's a session on Friday, I believe, run by the International Student Support Service. They probably will be able to tell you more about that question there as well, about supports are available for our international students. Obviously, Centrelink is something for Australian citizens, unfortunately.
Cool. Following on from the support work stuff, I do support work as well, and I feel a lot of like responsibility and like connection with the participants I work with, and I'm worried about say when placement happens, not being able to work with them anymore, especially because I'm the key support worker for a lot of these kids that I work with. And I was wondering kind of if you know if there's kind of any way where you could still do, I guess, part-time work, say after school kind of shifts whilst doing placement. Like, is there any kind of ways around that, if that kind of makes sense? There's kind of a, like, it's tricky.
Yeah.
our placements are 8 weeks, 9 to 5, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
There are other degrees where they're adjusted to 4 days a week, which would make that a little bit easier. But from my experience, I wouldn't like. It does depend where you are, and there are a lot of people who are very flexible with timing. So my placement, they let me do 8:30 till 4:30 because I liked that time better. And another one of the people that was in the same place I was, they did 8 till 4. So same again, like it's adjustable, but it does depend on where you are, and you won't find out where you are until not a lot of time before you go. So it's hard to plan for it. And yeah.
The hospitals sometimes are 8 till 4.
Yeah.
But it does depend. Placements aren't shortened to allow you to do those sort of shifts.
Cool. That's okay.
Sorry.
Good, thank you. And I guess that's why it's worth knowing now that placement hours are required. You need 1,000 hours to meet the requirements for the degree. And as Simone said at the beginning, there's a large group of you here in this room who need the equivalent of 3 full-time 8-week placements plus a 6-week project placement. So in an area where there is demand for OT, but there's a lot of pressure on existing OTs. So we try very, very hard to protect our placement partners and the supervisors who will be taking your, having you on placement. So while Natasha is saying she negotiated that, she did that when she was on placement, thoughtfully and carefully. We really want to set the tone, I guess, of saying that you need to be considering every placement as an absolute privilege to be on, and you need to be thinking about how you can make the placement work for the agency. So that includes things like the times are set to serve the clients. So just it's a really hard balance, because obviously we understand that it's really hard for you to make work around placement requirements, but we have had a little bit of experience over the last year of students going in with the attitude that placement providers are there to meet their needs, and that is not the case. That does not go well, and we're constantly working on a reputational, we get a lot of things happen because of our reputation as Flinders OT. We don't want that to be damaged in all. So we will talk to you a lot more about the nuance of this, but even if it helps just think about, and I know that's what you're trying to do and why you're asking those questions, but thinking about these are kind of the non-negotiable parts unless you choose to go part-time. So that's where it makes complete sense. If you have an obligation to your clients or you have requirements about the number of hours you need to work, that's completely fine. We can work that in around a part-time placement, but we can't send you on a full-time placement and then have you trying to say, oh, but I need to leave at 3 on this day, or this needs to happen, because that supervisors plan placements with you in mind, and they are trying to get the most appropriate learning experience for you in their setting with the clients that they have. So just kind of, helping to think about that as the context. In uni, we can actually be a lot more flexible. We can give you deadlines. We can give you extensions. We can work with you around the pressure points. So the second years we're talking about, there's pressure points in the course where it's really hard to manage working as well. We can tell you what those are. We can sit down with you and say, this is the time, if at all possible, where you could reduce your work, we'll take pressure off you. This is okay. These are not the priorities. This is where you put your energy into. We're happy to do that in an academic setting. It's not as possible to do that in a placement setting. Yeah, Elise. Microphone.
Hi, behind you. My question is for Shelley. You can give us some insight into
I'm also someone who's returning back after 10 years. So what sort of prior knowledge that I should be revising, or some things that you find challenging when you started studying like maybe anatomy, physiology, or anything that I need to revise prior to starting any of the topics would be helpful there?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one because I guess I'm working in nursing, so that wasn't, I feel like my anatomy and physiology was pretty up to date. But for me, it was more just having a bit more time, I guess, to digest the content and look at things. And in terms of like writing assignments, like the referencing style is completely different. I guess what they expect of you in the kind of academic writing has changed. So I did find that at the library, they have, it's like a turntable thing with all sorts of resources that just really kind of break it down and give you really good guidance. And I think it would just be, kind of working out, I think, rather than what content to revise, how does studying work for me? And I found that for me personally, like I've got to go to the library out of hours where there's not people around and my children can't talk to me. And just kind of thinking about those types of things to make it easier. But there is a lot of content in the course, so just give yourself time to study. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Sort of the same note that he asked, but this probably will be different for everyone. I'm just interested to know was the study time for each of you, considering the working and some of you didn't work, but most of us I think I'm going to work. And the study time for each of your topics, did you find any one more challenging than other that you needed to dedicate more, especially for exam time?
I think back to first semester of last year, but I think first semester of last year there was like one or two subjects that were a little more challenging and required a little bit more time from me. And I find the topics in this course they're not matter of fact, so it's more concepts and like thinking outside of the box, which I find like sitting down and revising and studying not as helpful. I find being engaged in the content and being involved in classes and discussion points and talking with classmates a lot more helpful. So that cut back the time a bit for me. Taking proper notes on the lectures though, drags it out. So I would say I set aside like 2 full days for study. And then I think we had 2 half days most of the time for classes. That changed every now and again, but that was my personal experience.
Yeah, I think it is quite individual with kind of where you need to put more time and how you kind of take in information. But I really agree that making sure you're up to date with all of the lectures, and there is a lot of discussion and things in class, and if you haven't actually done the pre-work, you simply just don't get as much from it. And then you will find that towards the end of the year, when you've got assignments due and you might have an exam or something coming up, that you have a whole lot more to revise on, as opposed to actually taking the time to really do the work before your class, make your notes, and make it easy to come back and revise. Because there is so much information that I feel like, it feels like you've got it, and then you get towards the end of the semester and you start looking back again, and to be able to kind of refresh and get the most out of it and decrease that burden on your time and energy for exams, I would say keep on top of it, keep good notes, and good luck.
On that note from Rochelle, there are lectures and there's also prep work that you need to do. It will be different for each topic, how much you have to do. but we do expect that you have watched the lectures and done the prep work, because that is built on in class. And if you haven't, you just aren't able to engage in the same way. You're wasting your time, essentially.
As English is my second language, I would say that international students, they just please make sure that you get that extra bonus time for each exam, because they will give us that if you've written that on your personal profile that English as your second language, they will give you. But some, like the system fault, you probably, if you notice that you didn't get it, you probably needed to contact with Flinders Connect and make sure that they give you that, because once you give it, and you will, it will continue for the rest of all those studies, and that's really, really helpful. And for me, I found that the most challenging part, some point of the last, for the first semester, and then some part for the second. Second, I have to address that issue. Am I allowed to? Literature review. It's a biggest hit.
Assignment now.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, but I just want to help people, basically. Okay, so for the first semester, that will be an IPP. I'm not sure that's still in the first semester.
IPP is the same.
Okay, so you will find that, okay, some other people, some other professionals, they have more experience, and they can conduct this whole case scenarios easily than you. It's okay, it's natural, because like speech pathologists, they already dealing with this kind of client, and then they have already in this kind of field for some time. They got some experience. It's totally fine. Don't freak out. And I think it's a good experience to work with people from different aspects. And to me, I thought that it kind of a bit too early, because I barely know what OD is doing, and there's a lot of things, and case scenarios, and group work, and we need to do presentations, something like that. So, but it just basically, I think people are being nice, and a little bit challenge, it helps you to grow. I think that's a very important process, and for me, as OT that we talk about reflects and how to reflect, do the reflection, that seeing everything that if you think that you didn't do well, try to mark it down and make sure that you had a good progress and talk to your team and your friends. Because I think this whole course, you definitely can't do this alone. You have to meet people, you have to work together, and you have to make sure that, okay, for people that who have some other jobs or they have family to take care of, you probably needed to make a good time management and make your schedules and all those timetables, and not let you feel like all the things are crammed into the final second, and you've got placement as due, and you've got a practical exam, and it's not going to work. Yeah, so that's my advice.
Sort of to build upon what Mark said about the literature review and that sort of thing, there will be assignments in this course that, from personal experience, you won't necessarily do very well in. But I want to say here right now, being completely transparent, I have failed an assignment in this course, and in my undergrad, that never happened. But I want to say your teaching team is here. Your cohort is here to really help and support you, and it's completely reasonable to not do well in something, and don't beat yourself up about it. It's masters, it's really tricky, and just some things aren't going to go well on some days. I know people who, the prac exams, some people can just walk in there, no prep, amazing, like pass, you know? Then there's some people who just get in there, completely freak out, that's normal as well. But the great thing about uni is that you're really supported and you're here to learn, and you almost get a second chance at everything. So just really make sure that your first chance is really good, and if it's not, there's always a backup. So don't beat yourself up too much.
Can you just elaborate? So I think sometimes students are scared to come and talk to us, particularly when they've failed. Was that okay for you, Ash?
Yeah, so I walked in and I don't know what it is about me, but when I'm in a room with a teacher, I will just bawl my eyes out. I'm fine. I'm you can probably tell I'm a bit yappy and bubbly, but I don't know what it is. When I feel like I've not disappointed someone, maybe myself, it makes me want to cry. So I literally walked in there and Elise was like, why are you you did the work, it's just that it didn't go well, you just got lost somewhere here, you failed by 1 mark, you're fine, just redo this. And then the great thing was that we were going on placement, I think, and Elise was like, just get it done before you go on placement because you won't want to do it. But I had some family things come up, and Elise was so good with just being like, it's fine, just get it to me before this deadline, because otherwise, like, we can't process your grades. So the teachers are really there to support you within reason, like make sure you're being respectful as well of their time. But yeah, just it's almost like a two-way street. Like, they're showing up for you, so you need to show up for them as well.
And I think, sorry, I wasn't just saying Sonia, it was us that had.
That's okay. You can out me, it's fine.
But I think for some people, that depending on the degree that you've come from, lecturers are foreign people that you don't go anywhere near, and you call sir and madam, and you know, we come from a relational approach. We really try to work with our students as we would, as Sandra said before, the clients that we work with. We try and be as approachable as we possibly can, and we just really want to reiterate that if we send you an email to check up, it's because we might have noticed something and we do want to check up. If we send an email, it's not because you're necessarily in trouble. You know, we do care and we want to support you. So, yeah, please know you can reach out, but please also know that we will reach out as well along the way.
And I just wanted to add thanks, Ash, for making the statement that you will inevitably do worse than you are used to doing in your first assignments in a master's course, because there is a difference between a bachelor's course and a master's course. And you're under all the other pressure that you're under. You're getting used to university expectations that may have been different, because many of you will have cruised through your bachelor's degrees with lots of time, time to work, time to socialise, and the amount of work as well as the nature of the work really does increase in masters. It isn't, as Nataskia said, it's not about learning facts. We don't expect you to learn facts. As professional OTs, we look things up all the time. What we do want you to know and understand is theories, is the evidence base behind something, is how you will apply it. And there's all the contextual factors that impact on that. So again, some of you from your bachelor's might be used to working out what's being expected of you and delivering that and getting an HT. Masters doesn't work like that. It's about clinical reasoning, it's about application, it's about, do you understand this complex theory about humans and how they work, and can you apply it? So there's lots of room for that to go a bit astray, or you might think you do it, then you're trying to apply it and you're like, oh, no, it's not working. That's what we're here for. So there will be times when you don't do so well. And for many of you who are in the room who are, like Rochelle as an example, juggling so many other things as well, we encourage you to be really kind to yourselves. Like, P's get master's degrees. Sometimes you just have to be realistic. What we want you to actually focus on is not the mark, not the grade, but the learning. And the really rich learning comes from discussion with your peers, discussion with the staff. If you thought, wow, I nailed that, and then you got a pass or a credit or a fail, coming in, making the time to go, where did I go wrong? What was I doing? The learning is what's important in the masters, because by the end of that, you'll be graduated, you'll be OTs, you'll be going out into the really world where there is no right and wrong. There's so many I shouldn't say that. There is some wrong. There's lots of rights. There's lots of different ways of doing things. And we want you to be flexible in your thinking, able to apply things.
No one's going to look at your transcript when you're applying
No.
for jobs. They don't have any care if you passed interprofessional practice or not, or got a HD. They're not going to care if you passed. They don't care what grade you got. It's about the learning, like Sandy said. That's the most important thing. And we know lots of you are very high achievers. We know you've had it for many years. Please try and not beat yourself up if you don't get what you're used to getting, because you're in this degree now. You've got to pass.
Yeah, you don't have to maintain your GPA. You don't have to fight to get in. You can relax. Relax. And we also know our brains work best when we feel safe and are in that relaxed state. That's when the connections happen in your brain, the learning happens. It doesn't happen if you're stressing about have I got this right? What's the right way to do it? How do I get a HD? I only got a D. That's not okay. It's, you know, and again, we'll be working with you over the next 2 years to be about, you know, compassion. I just loved the way all of these students really iterated that their first kind of tip is about looking after yourself, getting the balance right, taking care. Because when you take care of yourself, again, learning goes better.
Just to echo that sentiment, in the last 10 years, nobody has cared about my GPA from my nursing degree. I got my job, I've worked, and you know, that's really reassuring, I think, going into this, that it doesn't guide the outcomes. And I just want to say as well, I think the reason why the teachers in this degree are fantastic is because they are all OTs, and so they do actually holistically look at your situation and understand that the different contexts impact, and they look at you and they hear you. So absolutely reach out if you need help.
And I'll echo that. In 20-something years of clinical practice, no one's looked at my transcript for results, including getting that job here at the university.
Yep. Also can confirm your grades don't really matter while you're here. Like, as long as you're passing and you're doing well and you're engaging in the content, then the grades and the feedback you get is literally just to help you improve. It's like, if you think about it, you're starting now and in 2 years you're going to be a practitioner. All of the feedback you get will make you a better practitioner when you leave and when you're going on placement and stuff. So don't take it to heart. You will do poorly in some things, and that's just what it is.
Just to echo everything that everyone said about grades, a little horror story from my partner who's doing physio at the moment. He was a person who after placement would go home, stay up till like 1 a.m. doing coursework to think that he was going to be better on placement. He almost failed placement because he didn't take time for himself. So he's a person who chronically gets HDs, just freaks out if he doesn't do it. But he started doing poorer and getting poorer outcomes because he wasn't taking time for himself. So meanwhile, I was going home from placement and watching Netflix, but that's what I needed. And then I did phenomenally better than him. But just you actually really do need to take time for yourself. Don't worry about your grades. Nobody's going to care. Especially in OT. It's not that competitive to get a job.
And what they will care about is who you are as a person and how you come across in the interview, which you get all your practice about doing that when you come to class and you interact with your fellow students and you, talk and discuss and share different ideas and admit that you don't understand something and connect with someone else who goes, oh, that was really easy, I got this, la 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 la, and someone else who goes, I don't get it either. That's the stuff that, our course is also designed for, which is why it's a face-to-face attendance discussion-based experience, because they're the soft skills, which I hate the term soft because I think they're the critical skills that is what's going to get you a job in whatever area that happens to be.
It is now 11:40, so you guys have talked for an hour, which is amazing. No, I think it's been really valuable. I think it's better to hear from you than from us. I'm just conscious that you are probably all really needing a break. Is there anything that you urgently want to say?
Just quickly. With exams, the practical exams, go to the uni with friends and practice them.
Yeah.
We'd spend a couple of days beforehand, even if it's just an hour or two, because you get to see what people do well and what you don't do well yourself. And there was a few things where I was doing the complete wrong thing and someone would pick me up on it. And then when the exam came, I was fine with that. So
my caveat to that is if you all are unsure, don't just check in with the staff member, because otherwise you'll all teach each other the wrong thing. And we've had that happen before. But no, that's a really good tip. Practicing with each other is really, really important. You can usually find a room somewhere at Sturt to do that.
And
can you explain that? What practical exam?
Oh, we have practical exams where you have to demonstrate skills. So you'll come in and have to show how to get dressed. Well, not we're definitely not going to see that. Show how you might teach someone to put on a shoe. Yeah, that's true. That's a better example. Yeah. OTs do teach people how to get dressed though. So just so you know, there is some actual context there. But yeah, how you might teach someone to put on a shoe when they've had a stroke and have left-sided paralysis, for example.
Also, the practical exams are a lot less scary than you think. Like it's easy to get nervous and caught up in your head, but they're non-graded passes as long as you are paying attention and being involved in the content.
And we'll give you opportunities to learn. There's lower stake prac exams in semester 1, and we build from there.
And I was just going to say, vulnerability just leads to connection and support. So if you're struggling, tell someone, because there's probably a whole lot of other people who are in the same space.
Definitely.
And try not to over practice.
Yeah.
Because I actually got so nervous and I practiced a lot of time and then suddenly, oh God, I forgot this, forgot that. And there is a time limit in practice. And just relax and once you're fully prepared, you will just follow that flow and you will nail it.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say before we'll let you go have a break is that you've chosen a really good degree. So just have fun with it. Make the most of your time here. And yeah, just you'll have a really, really good time. So not to scare you with all that horror stories, but it'll be a good.
I appreciate you all being vulnerable and sharing, particularly you, Ash. I know it's not easy to say I failed something, so Ash is here smiling. You will too. You'll be sure to happen. Yeah. Thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. We'll just give you a leg stretch time and a bit of a break. I think you can get coffee downstairs if anyone's definitely needing to be caffeinated. So we'll come back at 12 o'clock. We'll have about an hour to wrap up some last minute things. Maybe a little longer if we need to. I know that these guys will just hang around for a bit if you've got any pressing questions you want to ask. But otherwise, back here to get started at 12, please.
Like I'm putting money away in savings for the placements. Is it like you can get extra placements?
Part-time,
of the work?
What a great choice. I wish that I had done that last year.
Out of it, or is it just like the rural placement that gets you it?
Thanks for having us. Sorry for what I'm doing this year, because I've gone part-time, is I'm basically on the day that I'm at uni, I'm actually dedicating that whole day to study and to that. And I think that's really I was able to keep on top of the coursework, but then I came to assignments and everything else, have a great plan. And then last week my daughter had surgery because she had plastic in her eye, and if there's all of the unplanned this time then with having a family, so I would protect that time, be intentional with it, because I think dedicating that time you'll be okay, because I made a mistake of not really thinking about studying and really protecting that time. So trying to do it at home, trying to do it exactly. So I think
one is just 5 years.
I might see you at the end of the year because I'm doing part-time.
Hi Rochelle, thank you for answering that question.
Oh, that's all right. I don't know that I answered it.
No, I think it's perfect because I've also got family and then cooking.
Good.
Thank you. Long may that last.
In the past, we've had someone who had to whistle to get attention.
One of those people. Have we got anyone in the group who can do one of those finger whistles, the really loud ones?
We haven't for the last few years.
No. Prior to that, we always had one student who was the, can you just whistle them out now? I rely on my drink bottle and ding, ding, ding. We're going to whip through some of this to just again set the scene and focus a bit more on some other parts with any luck. We just thought it was really important to spend the extra time with the students because that's the stuff that's probably going to ring really true for you. in the way that we teach and the topics that we're dealing with, we will be dealing with sensitive material. And again, because you you are representative of real life people, there will be things potentially that might be triggering for some of you. What we will do is in our topics, we want you to understand that we're talking about working with people, so that applies to everything. But where there's a particular week's topic that we think will maybe be more sensitive, this week in class on Thursday for the Working with Children's thing topic, we're looking at working with children who have meltdowns, and what we're doing is looking at videos of children in distress and unpacking and working through how we'd respond to that. So I've got a sensitivity warning saying this may cause you distress if you've had that experience. So we'll have a warning, and we ask you to think about how to respond to that, and also not necessarily just avoid that. Because what we try and do in the safety of our classes is explore those really challenging things, because it's not actually going to be anywhere safer to do it than with your own peers and staff, rather than the first time you come across having to do that is when you're with a client on placement or with a client. So it's a bit of, again, I don't know whether it was Ash or Rochelle who said it's a kind of back and forth reciprocal relationship between us as teachers, providing you with knowledge and information, and you as students actively engaging with that and letting us know when or if that might be challenging. So we're really happy to talk to you and support you if something in a particular week looks like it's going to be triggering for you. We would really encourage you to talk to us about whether or not it's safe for you to be in the room when that's being discussed or thought about, and think about the kind of implications of that rather than just avoiding, because we know when you avoid it, it doesn't help you develop the skills or the knowledge about how to respond to that. And obviously the stuff that we're talking about is real world. It's not designed to be shocking or confronting. It is the examples that you will be coming across in practice. So we want you to have those experiences and know how to manage that from a tools perspective, that clinical knowledge, but also from a how does it affect you experience in developing that reflective practice and ability to cope with working in those spaces. Won't go on about this a lot, but just thinking about the power of language is another thing that we will be talking about, modelling, and also picking you up on in your assignments and your writing. So thinking about inclusive language, about how we consider the people that we're working with as people first, not a disability or a condition, and that we keep people front and centre in mind when we're talking about our work. And that we use positive language, so rather than saying someone is wheelchair bound, which implies limitations, we talk about them being a wheelchair user. Trumping that is always how the person themselves wants to be referred to. So a great example of that is in the autistic community. People are happy to have autism identified first and foremost because it is part of how they identify. So that doesn't mean that every person is going to want to do that, but we do talk about autistic people rather than people with autism, whereas we wouldn't necessarily do that in other language. So that's part of learning how to become an OT, is the language we use and the way we use language. And as I said, you'll get picked up on that in feedback along the way. How we communicate with each other and with lecturers is also an important part of becoming professional and reflecting professional communication. So we need to think about, and often for our international students, they are used to a much more hierarchical approach between lecturer and staff member. So, it would be really appropriate to say, "Dear Dr. Mortimer," in that context. For me, I'm very okay and prefer you to say, "Hello, Sandra." So all of our staff are happy to be referred to by their first name. We're not as keen on "hey." Hey. That's more informal. If I know you, I accept at least sending me an email saying "hey," but generational, etiquette, professionalism, hey is not generally considered an appropriate greeting. So, hello, fine. I'm not sure what check flow for more details means on that, Elise.
Probably around the days that we work, knowing what our best preferred contact is, because that will be in most of the handbooks for the topics. It'll say I prefer email, or you can come to my office, or whatever it says. Just check for what lecturers have put down there, and just being aware of the days that we're away. So I don't work Fridays typically. So if you send me an email on Thursday, I won't get back to it till Monday. So don't expect that I'll get a response then.
And most of us are extremely busy, so while we'd love to, and we technically have an open door policy, it's actually often quite hard if you just pop in, because I might be about to jump into a Teams meeting, or I'll already be meeting with a student who'd scheduled a meeting. So it's not that we want to put barriers in at all, but it does work better if you send an email saying, can we make a time? And what I really like is when you say, I'm going to be in a class, could I meet you at 1 to 1:15? Because then if I think, oh, you're already in class, I will actually bend over backwards to make that work. Whereas if people say, when can we meet? I've got to think about my busy timetable and your busy timetable. So just be as proactive as you can.
Give us some dates or times that you can meet. And we're also happy generally to do a Teams meeting. So if you're not in on a Thursday and you need to, we can make a meeting via Teams on a Thursday. That is completely fine.
Yeah, depending on your comfort levels, but that often works really well. Yeah. So in communication. So thinking about the audience you're communicating with, I guess, is what we're asking you to think about there. And knowing that that's a bit of learning about how that happens, and that's also part of becoming a member of the OT culture and profession. In class discussions, we ask you to respect others' opinions and to share and talk about your own experience thoughtfully, and to respect confidentiality. So we do encourage, lots of in-class discussions, but remembering that what's said in that context needs to remain in that context.
Which is often why we don't record the classes as well. We want to be able to maintain that confidentiality of the classroom.
Yeah. Asking questions is absolutely okay. So again, for a lot of our international students, that hasn't been okay, and they've told us that when you ask a question, it's like you've admitted you don't know something and you'll be in trouble for doing that. Whereas in Australia, in OT, in this university, we encourage questions. And we don't see that as a threat or a challenge. We see that as a way that you can process complex information and get clear, and that's a really good dialogue between us, because I might have explained something and think, wow, that was super clear, and then someone asks me a question, I'm like, oh, that was not clear after all. How do I reframe that? And that's my job. My job is to communicate so that you understand. So if you don't understand, I want to know. And it's the old adage that, there's no such thing as a silly question. You'll be sitting there thinking, I'm the only one who thinks this, and you'll say it, and there'll be heaps of nods going, yep. We often still have students come up to us at the end and say, I just wanted to ask, and it's like, that would have been a brilliant question to ask in your class, because that's a fantastic thing to bring into that. It's highly relevant, it's really, really good. On flow feedback.
We'll be setting up, once we figure out, we've got a new system. Flow used to look different, now it looks how it does. We'll be setting up different feedbacks, availabilities or questions that we'll put up there. So just keep an eye on that if we're asking feedback, particularly after we've got a guest speaker coming in. Sometimes we want to get feedback, so just keep an eye out for that. That's your way to communicate back to us and let us know how that went for you. And similarly, we do have what's called SETs, so that's student evaluation of teaching. They happen at the end of every semester, at the end of every topic, where you have an opportunity to give feedback around the course. We really, really, really encourage you to use that as your opportunity to give feedback. But if you've got something that comes up along the way and something's not clear, because often we'll get in there, Elise wasn't clear in explaining things. I'm like, well, tell me at the time. It's really helpful to know that then, but what specifically was I not clear about, for example? I would much prefer you to go, hey, that wasn't clear. That lecture was really, I couldn't hear a thing in that lecture. Don't tell me in the sets, tell me at the time. Put it in the sets as well if you want to, but if you can tell me in the moment, we can fix it for you. Otherwise, it just becomes really challenging, right?
And on that again, we always welcome students letting us know if something's not available that we've talked about being available, or that we haven't followed through with saying, oh yeah, I will, I'll put that up now. I might go into 3 different leadership meetings on different topics around a whole heap of things, and then rush off to take my dog to the vet, or whatever it is. And then I'm going to forget. I try really hard not to, but like Elise said, we never have a problem with someone saying, Sandra, just checking, you did say you were going to put that up. I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Well, the lecture's not up this week. Please let us know, because sometimes we've put it up and there's one button we've forgotten to hit. So please feel free to go, the lecture's not up yet. We love getting told that.
Yeah. I was organising an exam 2 weeks ago, and it was mayhem. And I'd said, yes, I'm definitely doing it. And the student had watched me do it. And then she got back home and was like, I know you uploaded the document, but you uploaded the wrong document. I was like, thank you. Okay, take that one down, put this one up. Because there's so many complication layers between our systems and how you end up seeing them. And it will be a question of, sometimes we've completely forgotten to do it, but mostly we thought we've done it and we've done something.
And we're humans, we make mistakes, and we're very, very happy for really, kind prompts. Not going, oh my goodness, you've done it again.
I don't actually mind that, to be honest.
But
I get frustrated with myself too. Yeah. But just, that feedback is really, really helpful in reminding us and holding us to account, like in a gentle way, because we will also do that to you in a gentle way, because that's how we are accountable and how we make sure with all the things that you're juggling, all the things that we're juggling, we still meet the requirements that we need to meet.
And as you know, the topics are new, some of these, so your feedback is going to help shape it. Your hand was up, Liam.
Sorry, I was just curious, on the flow on the Canvas.
Yes.
Do you know when the courses will be added?
Today should go live.
Oh, okay.
So they're usually a week before the topic starts. Not everything's up there. I definitely know not everything's up for 8013, including your lecture. Our goal is to have that up a week in advance. So that's what we try to do for all our stuff. You don't remind me that my lecture's not up for 8013. I know it's not up. I will get to that. It will be up by the end of tomorrow.
Kind of just going off that, in the regular semester, when do we expect the lectures to go up?
Yep, so we aim for a week in advance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just give us some leeway in the first few weeks as we're trying to sort out the whole semester and, answer all the emails from students and all that sort of stuff. It'll probably have a little lag, but we absolutely will aim to have that in a week in advance. That's our absolute goal.
And usually if we can't meet that, we'll try to put an announcement up saying,
yes.
Really sorry, haven't got to it today, but it'll be up by tomorrow at 5 o'clock. But again, feel free to say,
hey, it's not up yet, because maybe we put it up and just didn't hit publish.
Which is really annoying, because last year, again, I had an example where I marked gazillion assignments on time, which often got the feedback back to the students, was like, wow, I am so
winning life.
Kicking goals, this is amazing. 4 weeks later, a student said to me, Sandra, when are we going to get that feedback for that thing? And I was like, what? Like, we haven't had it yet. It's not a problem, because they'd already got on placement. And I was like, what do you mean it's not a problem? Oh my God, he's delivered all the time. What? And went into it, found the stupid tick on the 5th page in that I hadn't ticked. And I was just like, why didn't you let me know? I could have fixed that within like 20 minutes and still felt virtuous as opposed to...
We try to also put announcements up. Your feedback's available now. If you can't see it, let us know. Please just send us a reminder.
Yeah, we definitely, it's about working together to support your learning, and all of the teaching team is the same. We don't have anyone who gets upset about that stuff.
Not at all.
We just wanted to touch on social media and whole of cohort communication. So, you're a big group of people. We think it's fantastic if you create a way that everybody can join a whole cohort way of communicating. What we strongly encourage you to think about is what that mechanism is used for. So there's a whole heap of guidelines as a professional and as a university student around social media, and things like WhatsApp groups count as social media in that context, around what can be talked about and what can't, and what breaches professional ethics and codes of conduct. So we strongly encourage that in that cohort communication, that is about social things. You know, reminder that we're doing this. Anyone know that? Like general communication. Does anyone know about the uniform? I don't know, I can't give examples.
Has anyone seen his lecture up yet? No, but I will email Elise so I don't get 110 emails saying you have to put your lecture up. That sort of stuff. Or did anyone see the rooms change today? That sort of general stuff is absolutely appropriate for that space.
But, yeah, and I think even more importantly perhaps, because that could go through reps anyway.
It could go through reps.
Is, you know, social stuff. Like, I really would love to go and explore the beaches at Glenelg. Is anyone interested in doing that? So that you start to build connections and social contacts. What we don't want that big group to be used for is talking about placement, agency issues, anything that's come up, or even course issues and complaints. Because we're not part of that, so we can't do anything about it. We don't want forums where people just post problems or concerns, but where they're not addressed. So we just want to separate that out. There's many other mechanisms where you can, there's reflection, discussion boards for talking about placement. Like, we've got places for you to do that. We want to make sure that this one is about just general communication that wouldn't breach any privacy or potential reputational risk elements around, because placements is such a sensitive area, and you don't know what happens with information in a huge group like this, 100 plus members of a social media forum. You don't know where that information might end up.
We want you to also think about the mode of the social group that you might create online. We know that in the past students have created like a Facebook group, for example, but there was a lot of students that didn't have Facebook. And so then there was a group of students that were actually excluded from that. So just maybe thinking as a cohort, what's the best mode of communication that's going to work for everybody? An example is that we can't use iMessage anymore, because you know how with iMessage for Apple devices, everyone can do that? We've got staff members that don't have that device, so we've had to shift to another form of communication for our staff. So that's something really important to just think about, because you don't want to unintentionally exclude people that would otherwise want to be part of that.
Especially when you're trying to be inclusive and include everybody. They're just having a bit of a think through.
Yeah.
We do, I think we've covered that.
I think we've covered that, yeah, for sure.
And I think we've
covered
about
that. Yep.
Yay. We will have student reps, and we will be calling for nominations in the first few weeks. So have a think if you're a passionate, like to advocate for things. Ash, who was in this group, is a student rep.
Yep.
For the Masters, has been.
We try and get 3 to really reflect the 3 pathways of students coming in. So BHS, MOT students, direct entry, domestic, and then direct entry international students. So we get a collective, or at least try to get a collective voice from everyone represented. So, yeah.
Not an onerous task at all.
Like 2 to 3 meetings a year. And yeah.
So we'll talk more about that when it comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Assessments, this sort of leads into what the students here were talking about in terms of expectations. So be really clear about when your assessments are due. In terms of planning your time, the priority and the pressure points in the course, they are naturally enough around when assignments are due, when assessments happen. And we coordinate across the 3 topics that you'll be doing in Masters, so we know when the pressure points are, but it would be really good that you've got that mapped out really clearly in front. If you are unsure about anything to do with your assessment, reach out to your topic coordinator. We would much rather spend time talking to you, either student on one-on-one or a small group of students who might be struggling, than marking an assignment that's been done badly and providing lots of feedback, then needing to meet with you. It's actually more time consuming. We hear all the time that people are like, I didn't want to bother you because I know you're really busy. I promise you it's quicker to be proactive about responding to a question, because again, if 5 people ask me a question, I'm going to think something about the way I've put that information about that assignment hasn't made sense. I'm then going to do post a video talking about it more clearly so that we can set you up to do well.
And it's great to talk to peers to clarify things, but like I said before, we've had instances where a whole group of people have done it completely differently because they've taken one person's advice and rolled with it. So, yeah.
And it probably, maybe one of the other differences is often your assignment, your assessment, will look different to your peers because it's contextual and case-based. So you would expect you to be taking a different approach in responding, and your case study, your client, has different needs to your friends because they've chosen a different one. And the first assessment in Oc Science is a really good example of that. It's contextual to the person you do the assessment on. So then students can get into going, but I haven't done that, I haven't done that, I haven't done that. Oh, and turn themselves into knots. And it was like, but yours was fine, as was this person's fine. You just can't compare them. So remembering that because it's not rote learning, it's not one size fits all, it's multiple versions will be right, some will be wrong, then it's harder to compare.
On all the assignment pages, we've got clear information around how artificial intelligence can be used. So we know that it exists. We know you're going into worlds where AI is going to be part of your clinical practice. So we have put down details around what that looks like, and we will talk more to that in your topics. So just being aware, some of the assignments you'll be encouraged to use it and to critique it. For other assignments, you cannot use it at all. So just being aware that that's there and getting aware, becoming aware. There will be probably in my topic, so the 8013, there'll be a module that you'll need to work through around academic integrity and artificial intelligence as part of that. So just keep an eye out for that. I will put that up. Assignments referencing is APA 7th edition, so be aware of that. Use the sites that we put up to help you in how to do that. We do expect you to follow that process of doing referencing. And we also ask you that if you need extensions, because we will approve extensions, the university policy does allow us to give extensions. I think it's two or three business days of extensions without needing to provide evidence. So we will approve it, but be aware that if you put your request in on a Thursday night and you are and the assignment's due Monday, do you think I'll approve it? No, because I don't work Friday. So you're going to have a panicked weekend. So if you think you need it, get it in early. If you feel you need more than that, if you've got you might need to get an access plan if you've got a reason for that, or get medical evidence.
And you can always put in an extension request and then still submit on time.
Yeah.
That takes all the stress out. If you think, oh, not sure how that's going to be, I've been asked to cover a shift at work, that's going to take the time out that I was going to do this assessment, just put in for an extension request, because there are penalties if you don't submit on time, and we are very, especially in first semester, we're quite lenient around how we grant extensions, except when it gets to the point where it might have a flow-on effect to your other assessments. And we know that if I extend by another few days, you're not going to be able to get this done and be ready for the next one. So it's just going to have this flow-on effect and you're in for a world of pain. So I'll then have a chat with you about that and the reality of that. But mostly we're going to be generous and kind about the idea that we know you are battling things, and we would rather you were proactive and put in for an extension request. And I guess the other thing to think about is all of these sorts of things mirror real-world professional practice. We know it's in a student setting, but as a practitioner, you're going to have times where you won't be able to meet a deadline. You don't just kind of go, oh, I hope so, I'll submit it late. You kind of have to let people know that I'm not going to be able to get the report done. I could do it by 2 p.m, but I won't be able to meet the 9 a.m. deadline. What's the, how will that fit?
Yep.
Because that's taking responsibility for yourself. And the same with things like referencing. There are things and systems in SA Health and private practice where you have to follow really rigid, annoying documentation systems. You can't just go, yeah, but I don't like it, so I don't want to do it, because that's a requirement of being a professional, an OT. And that's the same with referencing. I would really happily not have to be nitpicky about where the bloody comma goes and the full stop and whether that's italics or not. I'm not a details-oriented person. But I know that if I want my work submitted and judged and be at an academic standard, I have to do that. So we will get really frustrated if you don't follow the rules for referencing. And like I always say to students, you don't want your lecturer to be frustrated and grumpy with you. Like, that's not a good look. We don't want to be like that. So one of the things you can do to prevent that happening is pay attention to referencing, learn it, do it.
It's a formula.
If you've had feedback previously that you don't do it well, don't pretend that, magically I'll just know how to do it, because you will get feedback back, but again, it will impact on your grade. Same with editing, wiggly green lines, wiggly red lines. If they're on your paper, they mean something. Look at it, click on it, see if you can change that. Editing. You won't get away in Masters with submitting an assignment with just on the first go. You probably won't get a very good mark if you do one draft only and then submit. You need to allow time, because it's not just a formula, it's conceptual, it's applied, where you go, I'm pretty good with that. Leave it for a day, an hour, 2 hours, come back, read it with the next lens of rubric on it and go, have I met all those criteria? Oh, I didn't do that bit. Add that in. Then get someone else to edit it, proofread it for grammar.
Not a peer.
And mistakes, a friend, a family member, and look at your referencing in detail. And so by the third time you've looked at it, maybe sixth, seventh, you will get something done well. That, which means, has obviously flow-on effects for when you put your deadline in.
Can I recommend that Microsoft Word has this great ability to go text to speech. You can read your assignment paragraph by paragraph back, get it read back to you. You'll hear if you've got the wrong word in there. You will hear when you've got grammatical errors, and that was just something that can help you with your proofreading as well. It's brilliant.
So, and if all of that you're going, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to pass an assignment in the world, make sure you talk to one of your topic coordinators about the assignments to make sure you're clear on what you need to do.
Or go to the next slide.
Yes, there is also this amazing student learning support service, which Mark was talking about, and Ash was saying she's also used, and Rochelle was saying she used. So this is really good around providing you with support. That is the common problems university students have.
So reach out to them, have a look on the website, that'll give you more details on what they can do.
Likewise, we have amazing health counselling and disability services. Mark talked about the fact that he's ended up using those services a number of times. A number of our students use them. They're free. They provide targeted and helpful information based on the experience of being a uni student. They know the pressures you're under. They know what works. They know what the challenges are.
That's also who you go through to get access plans. So if you've got caring responsibilities, or you've got a health condition that needs to be considered for study or for placement, that's where you get your access plan that's going to give those allowances. So if you need one, make sure you make an appointment. They will book up this time of year, so just be aware. It'll take you a little while to get an appointment if you need to.
And if you do have an access plan, please email it through to your topic coordinators so that we can be mindful of that and have a record of that in our, as we're thinking about things for you.
We have a course information page. I don't believe that has rolled over, so I am getting Flo to set that up. But once it becomes available, it's my main communication, or our main communication with you around things that come up across the year. It allows us to contact not just you, but the whole of the Master of OT and the students that are in the 5-year pathway. So it's a communication method as well as information on there. So keep an eye out. OT Australia, so this is our peak body that provides advocacy and support for occupational therapists out in the field. What's very exciting is that they do offer student membership. Student membership is free, so if you go to the next slide, there should be a QR code. If you want to join, I would strongly encourage you to do so. You'll have access to things like the journal, which you'll anyway through the university, but also things like the Connection magazine, and become aware of all the advocacy that they do in regards to promoting and supporting occupational therapists. They do a lot of work, particularly at the moment, around the NDIS, and there'll be lots of things that come out at the moment in relation to the upcoming election, so they'll put lots of different information around the election and how they're positioning themselves and lobbying for the needs, our needs, really, and that's what our membership pays for. So for students, they get free membership, new graduates get reduced priced membership, which is really exciting. So I strongly encourage you to hop on to the website, have a good look, and also become a student member. It doesn't cost you anything. The other thing that's very exciting this year is that there is a national conference happening, and that national conference is here in Adelaide. So if you are a member, there'll be times where they will be at some point putting out calls for students to be ambassadors to help out at the conference. It'll be at the end of June. It's held at the Convention Centre, so it's a great chance for you to potentially go along to see OTs from all over Australia as well as internationally, and to also have a look around. Yes.
Do those dates cross over with the placement dates that we have?
I cannot remember. I'm so sorry. It may do, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll have some more details about that shortly. So yes, it's very exciting. We're excited for the conference, aren't we?
Oh, we did that.
Placement, the thing that everyone wants to know. We are going to kind of just be very brief about this, because the main placement that you'll need to be focusing on this year is our observational placement, because all the other placements are happening next year. Like I said before, Simone will have some time set aside throughout second semester where we will have bi-monthly meetings, I think, to go through information that you need. But probably the most important things for you to know is that, as Sandra said before, you do need to meet 1,000 hours of clinical placement in order to meet registration requirements. This has been set out by the World Federation of Occupational Therapy, so WFOT. We do meet that across our degree. We've got a little bit of wiggle room, but it's by the time you take out a few days because you've been sick on placement and whatnot, it gets closer and closer to that 1,000 hours. And we've had a few students that have just scraped through, which can be challenging. Placement, what does that look like for you? So we've got obviously the placement at the end of the semester for 8013. That is allocated based on postcode. So please make sure that your address is up to date on the system. If you are an international student and your address is in China, you won't be allocated to a placement in China, but you'll be allocated to a placement really north of Adelaide, you know, all the way up sort of Barossa potentially. And that doesn't help if you live all the way down south. So making sure that your postcode is up to date is going to be very helpful. We then have 3 8-week placements in second year and a transition to professional practice project placement.
So this first placement doesn't count in terms of area of practice to the future ones. It's literally, that's why it's just allocated. You don't get a say in it. It's just an opportunity to see what OTs in that space do. And these ones then, across these 4, we look at making sure you meet the requirements for the degree, which is a broad range of placements. And again, that can be, we have to match that with the offerings from the field. Simone does an incredible job of magicking up placements when we need to, but we can't tailor to everybody's specific needs, unfortunately, much as we would love to. So sometimes, like she said, you'll be allocated to a placement that you might think, oh, that isn't going to be what I want, but often those placements are the ones that really change people's minds quite significantly.
So be open-minded to your placements. There will be a survey that does come out where you can put practice area preferences. We try where possible to do that, but as we said, we need to make sure that you get a breadth of placement opportunities, and we're also taking into account not just your preference, but the preferences of everybody else here in the room. So it's a very fine juggling act that we work on.
We are really, really hot on protecting those placements, as I've already said, so we ask you not to approach agencies and try and source your own placements, because there's a particular process between the 3, soon to be 2, unis in South Australia, and then having other people approach them throws things out and can have quite significant impacts on reputation and future placements.
Yes?
You might address this as you go on, but in terms of the rural placement,
I'm from a rural area. Can I preface to be
Yes.
placed there? Okay.
Thank you for
Yeah,
raising
I've
that.
got family and stuff. live there.
There's a slide all about that.
Free accommodation. So
Particularly
Absolutely.
if for the observational placement, we don't tend to have many of those in rural places, but if you want, because it's in a 3-week break block, if you want to go home to a rural location for your observational placement, can you please let me know? Send me an email, because we will make sure, or try as hard as we can, to do that. I think Simone said she's got a couple in Peary, so if anyone's wanting to go back home to Peary, she would love to know about that, or I would love to know.
And part of that is obviously we really want to encourage rural practitioners. So if you live in an area and you want to go back and work there, we've also had examples where you might do 2 placements in the same area, because we want to support you really well to be able to do that.
To go back home.
And that might be the same regional area, it might be still a different caseload variety. So absolutely we have those things in mind where we can, and we don't want, we would make no sense for someone who really wants to go on a rural placement to miss out in that case.
Yep.
Yeah.
In terms of like rural placement as well, if you get placed rurally, how does accommodation work? Do you just find your own accommodation?
We've got a slide. Can we talk about that in a minute?
Yeah, sorry.
We'd absolutely do that.
I'm
Yeah.
jumping the gun.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for thinking that. We will get to that in 2 seconds.
I think we've covered everything there.
Probably just the main thing as well is, we've said it before, but if you've got things that need to be taken into account for placement, so a disability or you've got caring responsibilities, make sure when you get your access plan that that's outlined, and then we can talk about that further.
That is the one equitable way we can take individual circumstances in place into consideration, is if through your access plan.
Yep.
Otherwise we can't just address 90 people's particular preferences, or it wouldn't be fair or equitable for any of you.
So the fieldwork essentials, if you've got any questions about compliance, you could ask me, but we'll send you to cnhs.placements@flinders.edu.au. So we have got Libby there, who's our amazing support for placements, and she'll be able to answer, or someone from the team will be able to answer that question. So please don't send your compliance questions to anyone in our team, Simone or myself. Please make sure you email straight to cnhs.placements. Because there's things that you need to be meeting. So I know you should all know this. So immunisation, criminal history, DCSI clearances, students' fitness to practice, and then there's mandatory training like CPR, like RAND EC training, for example. So please get onto that. The placements, so if you just Google Flinders University Occupational Therapy Placements, it will take you to a website that will have all those details. If you look through the information that I've sent you when I sent the welcome pack, you will also have links to that. So there you go to.
Take note of that email address.
That email address is very important. Fitness to practice. So this is something that you all have to meet in regards to going on placement, but it's also something that we have to meet when we are accredited, when we've got our registration with occupational therapy. It's something that when we do our registration every year, we have to tick that we are medically fit for placement. So where there's a pre-existing physical, medical, mental health or other condition, such as that the ability to practice may be impaired, the student must discuss the issues in the first instance with the disability advisor at the University Health and Counselling and Disability Services. So that's the process that needs to follow, and that's part of that fitness to practice form that you will have to fill out if that you fall into this category.
And by meeting with these people, that will trigger you getting an access plan if you haven't already got it.
Absolutely. Then there is a process that needs to be followed as outlined by the Flinders University policy to ensure that students meet the requirement for registration as a student with APRA. And that is the fitness to practice form, which I think is on the next slide. Or the slide after that.
So you need to declare that you are fit to practice, just as we do as practitioners every year as part of our registration. And if you've got a pre-existing condition, that's fine, and that's kind of easy to remember. But if something goes on, or you develop a condition, or you have a back injury or something across the course, you also need to go back and update your fitness to practice. You need to keep it current. It does not mean that you won't be able to go on placement. It is about saying that it's manageable, that it won't impact on outcomes, and predominantly the safety of the public. As a health professional, we have to guarantee that what we do, we don't cause harm. So you can have a condition and it's well managed by medication. That's not going to stop you being able to practice as an OT. You can have a mental health condition that is managed and supervised and supported by an appropriate care team. That is not going to stop you from being able to practice. But you do have to declare that you have a process in place that manages that, and that's the same for students that we are talking about.
So pre-existing or something that happens across the course of the degree needs to be considered. This is the form on the next page. It looks kind of like this, but you'll be able to access it through the Flinders University website. Again, links will be in the placement manual. That needs to be filled out by a medical practitioner. So if you've got a specialist, they would fill it out, or a GP, they'll be able to fill it out as well. Again, it allows us as well to take into consideration if you've got a back injury, for example, that you probably won't be, I don't know, lifting patients, for example. You won't do that anyway, but there'll be some requirements that we'll just need to consider for when you go on placement.
And it's got extra parts that can meet your specific needs, but the disability advisors will help you fill that out in detail, and then Simone would meet with you and talk about the implications for placement and how best to match a placement that meets your needs.
We've got partners out in the field, so we've got lots of amazing placements that happen with our partner agencies. So I alluded to some of that before. Flinders Medical Centre, the Rehab Age and Palliative Care, which is called RAP building, next to Flinders Medical Centre. Southern Early Childhood, Southern Mental Health, Central Adelaide Local Health Network, so Carland, etc. are our placement agencies, but we also have other opportunities in other areas as well. In a lot of our partner agencies, that's where we have our clinical educators that sit and support students on placement.
And this is not an exhaustive list, but
Definitely
it gives you
not.
an idea of some of the range of places that you might be able to be going on placement.
It grows every year. Probably the biggest one there is licence. A lot of our agencies do require students to be able to drive, but also placements can be anywhere up to an hour away from where you live. So I guess having a licence definitely makes life easier for you, and a car can make it easy. So I guess start to think about and plan for that. We'll talk about the health conditions. Rural placements. So students are required to undertake at least one rural placement over the course of their degree. As we said before, the observational placement does not count as one of the rural placements, so we're talking about clinical placement 1, 2 and 3 and our TPP placement, project placements. We encourage you to look at this as an amazing opportunity to develop really diverse skills. When you go into rural areas, the amount of the breadth of what you see and the diversity of what you see is much more than what it would be if you were in just say a medical ward in one of the metropolitan hospitals. I know for myself, when I was a student, I did a rural placement and absolutely loved it and ended up working there. And I think that you'll find lots of people in our team had similar experiences as well. We make every effort, as we said before, to send students from local areas back to their local areas because we do know often students want to go home as part of that. The challenge that we have here is around, for students going rurally, is around accommodation. So for students that are Australian citizens, there is reimbursement for accommodation and travel for you to be able to go on placement. The reason it's available to our Australian citizen students is because it's funded by the federal government. That's where that comes from. So because of that, we do not force our international students to go out to the rural locations because they don't have the access to the funding. If you have a look on the university placement website that I've linked to talk to you before, it does detail what that reimbursement process is, how much money you get for that in regards to travel and payment of accommodation. But typically it does fund your accommodation in that rural location as well as your trip out there and back again. You need to just keep in mind the very clear dates that they have on when you have to apply for reimbursement. We've had students that have tried to apply, 6 months past their placement and it's been rejected because they didn't follow the time frame. So please make yourself aware of what they are.
if there's international students who really want to do a rural placement and can self-fund that, by all means let Simone know, because that's very welcome, and often that can be an amazing experience for international students. But we don't require it simply because it's not fair that you don't get funding for that where the domestic students do. We are constantly and continuously lobbying for that to change, but at this stage we haven't had much luck, and the university is very aware of that, but it's beyond our control because it's federally funded.
Dress code, so I guess the big thing here is if you haven't already organised your placement shirt, yes, you've got a hand up.
Sorry, I had a question about rural placement.
Yes.
If we have a preference of a rural location but we're not from there, like we don't have family there, how would we go about?
So probably the big thing is, so what Simone tends to do is when we know all our rural placements for a location, she'll say, I've got these placements. Please, if anyone is interested, she'll do a call out first for anyone that wants to take those rural placements. So we've got them in rural South Australia as well as up through into the Northern Territory. So we've had some placements in Alice Springs, in Katherine, as well as in Darwin. So we will put a call out first, and then if they haven't all been taken up, that's when they are randomly allocated from there. Does that answer that? Yeah, great. And dress code, so if you haven't organised your shirt, please make sure you do that first. You can also order a vest that you can wear. The reason we have a vest is because hospitals have a bare below the elbow policy, and for anyone who's been in a hospital, they are very cold. So you'll probably want a vest. Similarly, here's images of shoes and navy pants that you need to wear on placement. So order your shirt already. You cannot wear you've got a Master of OT, Flinders OT jumper, that's not placement, so that's just merch that you can wear. You need to wear the placement shirt with the logo. We do have every year some students that who graduate who donate their shirts to students in need. So if you are really strapped for cash, really unable to afford a placement shirt, you can come and let me know. I do have some, they are limited sizes, it's based on what gets handed on to me, but I do have them in my office. You can email me and come and have a look. Again, it's in the welcome letter. In the booklet, it will have a list of where you can do it. It's through Valerie Travers or something like that. If you click on it, it's very clear. You're welcome. Uni ID badges, you also need one of those. It's different to your student ID badge. This is a placement ID badge. It doesn't have your last name on it, so you do need to order one of those. That QR code should take you to the site where you can order that. I think sounds like it's $10. I think it's $10 to get it mailed out. $4.50 if you want to go up to main campus and collect it. But please make sure that you do that. I think there's a few. Just wait a second. Great.
If we've enough time to QR code, it'll be on the slides that we'll send out.
So probably what you need to know now. This is the most important thing. Observational placement. Get your address up to date. If you want to go rural for that observational placement, please email me. Please let me know. Make sure that you have done all your compliance. The cutoff is April 28th, so please make sure it's done by then. That is, I believe, the beginning of week 7. So you've got till now through the mid-semester break to get it all done. And if you haven't already, get your uniform and your ID badge ready for your placement at the end of the semester.
Start sooner. No, this isn't one to go, oh, that's the deadline, I'll start just before, because sometimes there's issues with vaccine availability, there's issues with courses being only running once a month. So really start looking at that now. Again, better to be relaxed and go, I've got it all in place, than be panicking in 6 weeks' time going, I can't get into anything. Yes. Because you can't go on placement if you don't have compliance.
Definitely not.
What do we do if we have the vaccination which requires 1 to 2 doses?
Please email cnhs.placements. They'll let you know in regards to what that looks like. I know there's a couple, like, did you say Hep B?
Yes.
Yeah, I do know that, and I think sometimes they'll let you out with 1, but they'll know the most up-to-date details that SA Health will allow.
And SA Health control that and let us know, and then we
And that makes changes at times, so yeah, we don't want to
We do not
mess
keep
it up.
that in our brains.
No.
Any questions about getting ready for observational placement? Because that aren't related to compliance, I should have said.
in your welcome letter, you just mentioned that we would find out where February, March.
Where you're going?
Yeah.
Yes, we're still pulling all that together, so I will let you know. It's not until June that you're going, so we've got a little bit of a wiggle room. Historically, that observational placement is sat in April, so we've got a bit more time now. So we'll probably allocate those out after the mid-semester break.
Can I ask in general, how far in advance do we find out where we're going to places?
Good question.
Depends is the answer. I know at the moment Simone's really trying to work on the second year's second placement, but until we can offer everyone a placement, we don't release it. If we knew in advance and everyone's got allocated, we'll release it as soon as we possibly can. And it might be because we do the NT and rural ones in a bit of a different process, we'll give you as much notice as we possibly can. But there's nothing worse you can imagine if we send out going, 80 of you have got placements and 20 of you don't, that's just going to cause horrendous angst. So we try and just hold off until we could go 100 placements are sorted.
So usually, I think she aims for about a month in advance, but yeah, that can be different. Be aware that you can have a placement allocated and it can change last minute. That does happen because out in the field, things happen with our occupational therapists. So just be aware that, we've got a placement, it's usually quite solid, but every placement block we might have one or two that change for whatever reason. And we've never had a student not start on day one.
No, even though it might have caused Simone, Elise and I some significant stress for 2 weeks trying desperately to find something, we do everything in our power to make that happen. But yes, you just really have to go in with that open mind, open to possibilities, flexibility, flexible mindset with placements.
Oh, look at that. Alex? Is Alex here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi! So you've got a student association. Are you the president?
Unfortunately, yes. You're stuck with me.
Fortunately is the word.
Unfortunately. Hi everyone.
Come over this side so we can see
you.
you
Will be in the recording, so those people who are watching get to see you.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. It's lovely to meet you all. Hopefully I can go around and say hi to everybody throughout the course, but I just wanted to really quickly speak to you all about the Flinders Occupational Therapy Association. So I did write a couple of notes because knowing me, I'm not sure how you're feeling, but my brain is fried, so I knew I would forget everything. So what is FOTA? If you've never heard of us before, do not worry, I promise we're not like one of those over-the-top American colleges. We don't have like secret societies, overpriced outfits, dramatic initiations. That's okay, we don't do that. What we do offer though is a fantastic group of OT students running some of the best events on campus. So what we've done in the past is we've had our OT ball, so think like fancy outfits and a bit of dancing. We've had our pub crawl, so think like slightly less fancy outfits but slightly more dancing. We do multiple fundraisers throughout the year. We're actually starting this year weekly study sessions, so that will be put on by us where we offer free barista-made coffee for all students. I think we're looking at a Tuesday, just so we're all on campus, so we can all attend together. We also do barbecues, picnics, and we are also offering a pub nibble. So we have someone amazing, I'm not sure who did, made a group chat. We will make sure that everybody is able to get involved in that. But one thing we are offering today at 2:15, if you'd like to come up to Flinders Tab, we're offering just like a couple of snacks, some nibbles, just to get to know everybody, get to know people in your degree, because let's be honest, this is going to be our cohort for the next 2 years. I think it's really great to create those connections now. One thing is, FOTA is 100% free. You do not need to sign anything or pay extravagant prices to be a part of this, but if you do sign up, you will get access to discounted tickets, and you'll also get access to knowing where we are, what we're doing, and most importantly, where the free food is on campus, because I know that's the most important part for everybody. So yeah, if there was anything that I missed or if anyone has any questions, I think I've covered it all. But yeah, feel free to sign up. One other thing is, our association is looking a little bit lower members at the moment, so if you do have a nick for planning balls or planning fundraisers or want something extra to do outside of uni hours just to keep you motivated, it's not a big commitment, it's once a month. Like if you really enjoyed listening to me yap, you can do it again. So yeah, just the offers there if you want to join. Thanks guys.
Thank you very much. That's some energy. That was great.
And as
What were you going to say?
I was just checking to see whether we'd be finished with the international students by then.
We won't be finished with our direct entry students by then, so some of them might miss out on that because the session goes a bit longer.
Oh, sorry, I was about to say that if you couldn't come to that today, we're doing something again mid-March, which will be announced later on, but yes.
Gotcha.
If you did not sign up just then, you can follow like our Instagram and our Facebook,
Yep.
and therefore you can see when all the events are happening and when you can come along.
Yep. So if you can't make it today, there'll be some information sent around about mid-March.
Yes.
More events happening today. Obviously, it's getting really close to 1. We know people are hungry. There's 2 more things. One is we've got 2 of our staff members who snuck in and standing up the back, so I'm going to ask them to come forward and introduce themselves, Kate and Brad. And then before you leave, I do need to take people's photos. So if you haven't had your photo taken, can you come and have your photo taken with me? Not literally with me, but by me. So we can create a montage of faces. I'll hand you over to Brad.
Hello. What do you want me to talk about, Alex?
Yourself. Who are you? And how did you get here?
Okay, yeah, so I'm Brad. My story is I finished this program in 2017 and went sort of straight out into a hand therapy role and then mixed up through SA Health, still in hand therapy, went into low vision and some brain injury work a bit further on, and then was lucky enough to sort of jump in, I think with Kate's topic maybe at some point, and do some casual tutoring about 3 and a bit years ago, and since July 18 months ago I've been here as a sort of permanent staff member 4 days a week. So I'd love to give you some sort of witty one line of advice, but I don't have anything. I suppose my big tips would be, having done this program, is get stuck in, really immerse yourself into it, ask lots of questions. I'll be there along for the ride for a few topics, probably more specialising into the physical rehab side of things, so I don't go into paediatrics. The only thing I know about kids is that I was one at one point, and that's about it. So,
and
I've got to, actually. This is why I don't teach peds. So I'll see you through a few of the topics. Doors always open. Just flick me an email, ask me questions. Hopefully I can relate to a few of you having some, bumps and hiccups along these 2 years, and we can talk it through and work together. So welcome, and very excited to get started with you all.
Hi everyone, my name's Kate Hoskins. I've been with the uni on and off probably for about the last 12 years, but in the OT program for the last 3 years. I work 4 days a week. I have Wednesdays off. Normally play golf, but I haven't for a little while. I can see a few familiar faces from the undergraduate degree, so welcome guys. So I take one of the undergraduate rehab studies topics, and then I will be your topic coordinator for occupational therapy from an older person's perspective. It's a bit of a mouthful. That's in semester 1, and then topic coordinator of the physical topic in semester 2. So still a work in progress, so but ask any questions that you have. If anything doesn't make sense, please ask. I'm also an academic integrity officer, so if anyone has any questions about anything AI or referencing, anything at all, please just ask. So yeah, no question's a stupid question. That's probably my philosophy. And if you're thinking it, there's probably several other people around you that are probably thinking exactly the same thing, but maybe a little bit too shy to ask. So yeah, welcome. Look forward to seeing you in class next week.
Amazing. It's nice that you reiterated pretty much everything we've already said.
Thank you guys.
So yes, this is 4 of our 7 team. So we've Simone obviously met earlier. Beck is working with students in kindies, and Belinda doesn't work today. So you will meet both Beck and Belinda next week when you're in class. I think that's us for now.